Get that, Robert, and thank you, Nerdy Collect, for having me.
Thank
Quite an
you.
introduction, I have to say. Oh my
Yes.
goodness,
Yes, of course. It's wonderful having you
like how you
today.
did it. No, thank you
Mm,
very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. You and I have been friends for quite a while, especially in the chats.
Actually,
It
yes,
sounds like
actually for several years, actually.
yes, very quite a few years, and we've had really awesome discussions in the chats about certain things and about on other people's shows that have just been
Yes.
wow. And I found out a lot more about you, so excellent. And I want the world to know about you as well. Sorry for the long intro, everybody. I know it was almost 5 minutes long, but I had a lot to say, and I wanted to make sure it was presented correctly. So thank you so much, Gore. I appreciate it.
No, thank you very much, and thank you to John. I see John is here from John's Comics
Yes.
and Kids, and I
On
see you.
Comics of Kids.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best in the community, I think.
Yes, he is. And just so you guys know, especially, I want to say thank you, everybody in the chat. I'll get to you in a moment. I thank every one of you that are in there. I can see you. Um, all of the links are posted down below, including John's show he did a few days ago with
I
Gore.
enjoyed that thoroughly. Absolutely enjoyed that.
Yes, it was excellent. It was so good, you guys. Go check it out. And please go check out my friend here for both of his YouTube channels. A lot of you don't know that he has another YouTube channel. So
I do.
please go check it out. So let's get on our co hosts on here and we'll get started. Okay. Uh, here we go. 1, 2, and a 3. What are you doing?
I've been making hats all day with the kids because it's World Book Day, so we've got to think of it all, experience things to do with the kids and make stupid hats for just one day.
Thank you for being here, brother. Okay, next. Here we go.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
Hey. Next.
What's up, guys?
Carlito, brother, how are you? I'm so happy you're here.
Doing well. Thanks for having me here. I feel blessed today.
Yes, I know. So do I.
Definitely.
You have no idea, buddy. Here we go. Next.
Hello, Tubians! Welcome to the Robert Downey Nerdy Collective
You
Show.
just cut out.
Well, welcome to the Nerdy Collective Show.
There you go.
One quick thing. Need all y'all prayers for the people 100 miles north of me for the wildfires here in Texas.
Yes.
Over 1 million acres burned, and it's still going. 100 houses burned to the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
So, please, prayers to them. Other than that,
Yes. Okay, and another surprise just for you, Gore. Just for you. This is just for you. You ready?
I don't know. Should I
special.
contact my lawyers?
Yeah, no. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey,
Now that's-
definitely
Oh,
contact your
yeah.
lawyers.
I'm in trouble today. I'm in
Surprise.
serious
Nah.
trouble today.
No,
You
you're not.
all.
No.
Let's see. Where's
I'm
Dewey
glad to
Cheatham in
hear it.
hell when I need them? They are my lawyers. Oh my God!
Definitely-
Hello, Jojo,
definitely contact your
Carlito,
lawyers.
everyone here. This is quite a surprise, Robert. Did
Yes.
not expect this.
No, it's
Um,
all good.
Is this all because I
Definitely
have
wanted to
not
be here for
watched
you.
Friday Night? Is this why? I mean,
Yeah,
there's equal
say it
blame
one
to
more
him
time.
and Carlito and myself because Carlito.
I was hoping that wouldn't come up, and of course, the first minute.
As soon as I saw JoJo there, I said,
You know it was going to come back around at some point.
and
It's
Monty
a matter of
understands
when.
it. I know. I mean,
Yeah.
Monty understands. We're both fellow Texans, so not that we believe in conspiracies. I know I do not, but this definitely sounds like a conspiracy in the making.
No. Thank you
Wow.
so much, everybody.
Wow, this
in
is
the chat.
wonderful. I'm just flattered. Wonderful to see all of you here. I've known JoJo for a long time when she started her
Yes.
channel, and
Yeah.
this is I never thought of that. Carlito, I've known for a while too, and
Yes.
wow, thank you, Robert. This is really nice. Now I am nervous.
Absolutely.
I wasn't nervous before.
No, you don't have to be nervous.
See,
Absolutely.
you're all surrounded by
Yeah,
friends.
we're all friends.
You're
Yes.
all
all surrounded. You're right
We're
there,
all
right there,
supporting each other.
surrounded by friends.
all it's about.
Yeah, I think that's what Custer said at the very last moment. Here in Texas, we have one ranger, one riot, so I think we're good.
Truly an honor, though. Seriously, it is. And
Yeah, this is
it's a
wonderful.
long
Thank
time
you.
coming.
This is wonderful.
Excellent. Big. Wow. You got everybody. I want to get everybody. I got everybody in the chat. I
A
think
lot of
right
people
now.
here. I don't know
Yes, a
what to do.
lot of people. So thank you so much, everyone. Seriously. Okay,
Yeah, thank
guys.
you.
Yes, big time. Who would like to start asking some questions? This is a Q&A about Gore. So please ask away. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, here we go.
I would like to know, Gore, how you
Yes,
got started into YouTube and a little bit about your you're into literature and stuff like that. What's your educational background in that?
Well, basically, is regarding the YouTube question, is on 2012 and 2013, I began to watch YouTube. Prior to that, I never watched YouTube, and I was looking for people to talk about comics that I liked locally, and I was having a challenge doing so. So I began to get on YouTube, and I discovered some channels. And at the time, this would have been again 2012, 2013. Many of the channels that were there were about talking comics and the new books and unusual stuff. And so I began, but in order to put a comment in the chat, you had to create a YouTube channel, or at least something in it. And so I had to do that. And so I began to comment on people's channels. Now, some of the earliest channels that I remember, Tim Morant. Tim doesn't make many videos anymore. Another one was Howler Mouse, whose also his name is Tim. Stevie Reader, Damien's channel.
Yes.
ETA Nick, who hasn't made videos in a long time. And so there was a few of others. And what was happening here, we're discussing comics that I like. I like the mainstream comics, but I also like what is known as the independent comics. And that's where that began. And so at one point, they convinced me to start a channel, and that's when I did. And regarding books, books and I guess fiction or literature really didn't take off until I was 18 or so, 17 or 18, when in high school we had to read two books, Wuthering Heights by Bronte and Hamlet. Prior to that, I did read some books. I read a lot of comics, but I wasn't really engaged in books. But those two books really engaged me, and I wanted books like that. And then when I went to university, I didn't study English, I studied government. But I read what I wanted. And I was around a circle of people. It was a different group of people. The government people were one group. The literature philosophy people were another group. But I could go between the two worlds quite easily. And so that's how it started, because I like stories, which is what comics are, movies are, poetry, and music. And since my family is from Mexico, although I'm an American because I was born here in the States, is in a lot of Mexican musics and ballads. They're all little stories. Usually they're tragic and sad. And I'd grown up with a lot of those films. And so I guess that answers, I think, your question.
Yes, it does. It was excellent.
Cool.
Good.
I like
Good
that
one.
question. Thank you.
Next. Everybody's dumbfounded. I'm like, what? Come on, guys. Oh, by the way,
I'm-
Jojo, I tried to get him to watch. We tried to watch. You'll have to help me
Okay.
with that.
He tried to get me to watch Fright Night, but it wouldn't play on
Yes.
the computer.
Oh man, yeah, we're definitely gonna have to come back around to that. I didn't want to start like right off the bat, like asking you why you haven't watched it, but we'll get around to it. We'll get around to
You've been with me long enough to ask me anything you want, Jojo. You know that.
it. Yeah. Oh, it'll happen. I'm just waiting.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
I'm being polite and waiting for other people
I
to
understand.
ask.
I know Fright Night's very close to your heart. I know that.
What's the biggest thing that links some of us on this panel and the name that of the person? Because the name Gore comes from obviously one of your favorite illustrators and stories from. Is it Spanish or Hispanic? Am I correct in
No.
that? And it,
No, Vidal is an American writer, and
Yep.
he's one of my favorite writers. And I met Vidal a long time ago, and when I got on YouTube, in order to comment on people's channels, you had to come up with a name. And I happened to have a row of Vidal's novels, and I have another row on the other side of Carlos Fuentes. Fuentes is a Mexican author, but they both have been very important to me, and when it comes to fiction, and they're both great North American writers. So anyway, I just typed in Gore Vidal to comment, and I thought it would be taken, but it wasn't taken. And so I decided to use it in the comments. And then when I started my channel, I didn't want to change it, so I used that. So that's the reason. But he's unrelated to comics. Yeah, he's just he's just
I didn't know the person,
Mhm.
and there's quite a big link which Robert knows. We're quite the link is Libra, and Gore Vidal. His birthday is the same day as mine,
Oh,
3rd of October.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I didn't know that. I did it's only a little bit of research, and I found that out, and I thought it's funny because we've got a little thing which we have about Libra, and there's a few of us that are Libras on the panel. We say so.
Well, Vidal's
it's just something
important.
silly about.
Not at all, because Libra. I'll get to that. Why I have that name, but the thing is about Vidal is important to me because although I was a government major, I had really good professors, but they never really got me interested in American history. It wasn't until I read Vidal's book Lincoln, which is a historical novel of Abraham Lincoln, and the way he approached Lincoln. I mean, we were taught regarding Lincoln that he was some country guy who split some rails, became a president, a very good president, and but never really got into the man. And what Vidal did in the novel, he treated him. Yes, he was all those things, but he was brilliant. He was self-taught. He was definitely very ambitious. And when he would sit with his cabinet, he could read them all. He knew the motives and the intent of each one. And so when he made his decision, he was always very careful. And he was a brilliant lawyer, absolutely brilliant. That whenever he did anything, he knew, will this hold up in a court of law in the future? And I just found that incredible. And he approached them as a human being, a very passionate man, but a very restrained man and a very reasonable man. And it got me to read his writings. And I think Lincoln is probably our greatest American. One, I think he's our greatest American president. Two, he's probably the best writer of all the presidents, even better than Jefferson. And although Benjamin Franklin was not a president, was a very good writer, Lincoln is the best. Sometimes I'll read his letters to just when I want to concentrate on something, or if I'm going through something, I read his letters because every comma that he puts in there is for a reason, every period. And his sentences are very precise, very deliberate. And his story is a beautiful tragedy. Well, let me put that, not beautiful, but it's a tragedy, but it's very effective. The Civil War ends. He goes on a carriage ride with his wife, Mary. The 4 years have been devastating to him. He's aged. His ambition was to become president, but be careful what you wish for. And he goes to the play. He loved going to the plays. He had parts of Hamlet memorized, King Lear memorized, Macbeth memorized. But he goes to watch a comedy and he's laughing. And one of the last images he has is of the stage. He's happy when he just feels this crash on his head, not knowing that the man who killed him was an actor he had seen on that stage. He had seen Booth because Booth was the greatest American actor at the time. He had seen him perform on that stage, not knowing the man who killed him was the man who had brought him so much pleasure. And it was plays. And so reading Vidal's book got me interested in American history in a way that no one ever did before. And when I met Vidal, I thanked him before I left. I shook his hand. I told him he was the best teacher I ever had. And I'm not the only one. There's many of us who felt that way about Vidal's books. I'm sorry I went on about this, but I wanted just to share that with you.
That's good. We've all got to learn. It's brilliant when we all learn everything. So
I got another question for you.
Go
This
ahead.
has to do with comics. Out of all the comics that you've read, what is your greatest literary criticism on what book?
What do you mean, Monty? What do you mean?
As far as the criticism, as far as the way the story was set up, it wasn't a very good story. You just didn't really able to follow it. It was just not a very good story.
Well,
Yeah,
I think the way
single book.
Well, I think the way I done on my videos on my channel is I discuss books that I like and why I think they're effective. And I did one, and I think it's highlighted here. I think Robert highlighted it on The Death of Electra by Frank Miller. And what I did was I found this nice musical piece, and I put the comic to that piece. And what Frank Miller did, and I think it's very important what he did for comics when he introduced Electra, and he took the writing of Daredevil, and as a writer and artist, what he did with those panels, he brought deep humanity to the comic, but not just that, but to mainstream comics. And her death, when she's killed by Bullseye, and she crawls to Matt Murdock, and she crawls into his arms, and then you see the anger in Matt, and he wants revenge. And when he fights Bullseye, he lets him fall. This is the early 80s. You didn't see that in a Marvel book.
Yeah.
You didn't see that in a DC book. And I wanted to address that actually, because those are two of the early comics that I read. And I think it's a good highlight because basically here you have, right? First Electra, 168. But what's interesting about this book is that when Miller took over the writing in 168, Electra becomes central to his whole body of work up until the end when he leaves in 191, 192. In a way, she engaged his imagination. And the way he transformed Daredevil into not just his conscience is also his Achilles heel. And also he makes it very clear he's a Roman Catholic. And everything that goes with that, the negatives and the positives. And Electra is at the heart of Matt Murdock. And so suddenly you have a crime drama. He makes the Kingpin central. Kingpin had been a Spider-Man villain, but now he's brought over. And he makes him to this sinister presence throughout. And this was something new. This was, I think, I've discussed this before. It's like when Martin Scorsese did Taxi Driver and what that did for those type of stories. I like to think that that's what happened here for Marvel. It added a certain maturity to the comics. And it coincided about a year later with this in DC, when some guy named Alan Moore takes over Swamp Thing. Right? This happened, 83, 84?
Yeah.
And I already knew Alan Moore, and I'll get into that maybe later on the show, why I knew who Alan Moore was before this.
Yep.
So now you had these two books, which are transformative for Marvel and DC. And I think that without the success of these two books with audiences and critics, we likely wouldn't have had Watchmen. We likely wouldn't have had The Dark Knight. We wouldn't have had those because I think the companies would have said the audiences are responding to these. And so these two books, I think, were very important because they also introduced the mainstream audiences to comics like this. And then people who didn't read mainstream comics said, "Oh, they're doing that in Marvel and DC.
Yep.
Let's pick these up." And so yeah, these books are very important for comics. I think.
Yeah. What'd you think of that answer, Monty? Pretty awesome, huh?
I mean, that's the way I look at them. Comics. That's the way I read them when I was a kid. You know, that's the way they. I mean, in hindsight, I had no idea they would be important, but they were definitely different. And at the time, and I think Monty will know, people who are, or Robert, those of us who are old enough to
Yep.
remember, is this was like the Protestants and Catholics.
Yep.
You were
Yep.
a Marvel guy,
Yep.
or you were a DC guy. I think you remember that, right?
Yep.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
almost like they did not, there was no
Yep.
connection between the two,
Right.
which I was absurd. It never made any sense to me whatsoever. And then I was the heretic in the group. I'm the heretic. I read these two, but then I was reading the Independents,
Right.
and now that was a whole another ball game.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, the Protestants and the Catholics, the Marvel and the DC people saw me as the guy from Islam or something. I was the heathen in the group. How dare I read those as well? And so as a kid, there was always interesting argument with me and just about everybody else.
So really quick, sorry guys, really quick. I got a question in the chat, and this one is from Digger Jim. He's asking you, Gore, favorite Daredevil line and story. You got the story, but I don't know about the line. Maybe he has a line. Do you have a favorite?
I don't know
line?
about the line. That's tough about the line.
Yep.
I don't
Storyline,
know.
Robert.
Oh, the storyline.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
storyline.
definitely.
Just
This is
explain it.
tough because Born Again, when he came back with Born Again, and this one here, this strongly affected.
There you go.
This strongly affected me, and I think what did it was this. I want to say it's the Elektra storyline but then there's this whole run is the Elektra storyline.
Yes.
But again, the Born Again one, it's tough because there's a wonderful panel here where I think most people here are familiar with the Born Again storyline. Either they know about it or they've read it, I think. But there's a scene when Matt Murdock has been pummeled. He's in trouble. I mean, he's just been beaten up, and he's being nursed back to health by this nun. I'm trying to find the page here. And I always like that page there. And let me see. Where is it? Bear with me, please. Here we go. And Matt Murdock says, "Are you my mother?" And she says, "Of course not, child." And the panels, it says, "A heartbeat can tell you a lot. Here, hers just jumped. She's lying." Now, what? His mother was a nun? Obviously, she probably became a nun.
Right.
And like, what? And then he doesn't address it anymore. The comic continues. And, but this is a very affecting storyline, and it's a favorite of many people for a reason. And whenever I recommend Daredevil, I said, don't start with Elektra. Don't start with anything new. Start with this, and because this hits you. You don't have to know anything about Daredevil, Elektra, anything about comics. This is about a man who's being broken down, the woman who loves him, and he loves Karen Page, but she's an absolute mess. She's a junkie. She's between porn films. And this was something, you didn't see this in a mainstream comic at the time. And she's just in a really bad situation. She sells the identity of Matt Murdock. It gets to the Kingpin. Now the Kingpin says, Daredevil has made my life a living hell. But instead of killing him, I'm going to emotionally and most importantly, spiritually crush him. And he nearly does succeed in that. And but Matt is resilient. And in the end, the forgiveness of Karen Page. And I like this final page here. It's a very moving page. when he's in Hell's Kitchen walking with Karen, and at last they're going to find some happiness. And later on, when Anna Senti did the writing for it, with Romita Jr. doing artwork and continues their relationship, that's why in the 2000s, when I'd stopped reading comics for a long time, but when I came back and I found out what had happened to her, that the DC editors, I don't blame Kevin Smith, but I don't blame him because I could come up with an idea and pitch it. It could be an absurd idea that'll piss off everybody here about something they like. But the editors don't have to approve it. They could say, you're out of your mind. We're not going to let you do that. They let Kevin Smith do this. And the story is good, but I'm thinking this is the end for Karen. And it's always bothered me ever since. And so, yeah.
There we go. So, Miguel, I'm going to blow you up here. I'm going to show a picture of something I have. And I want to show you guys. I want to show you something. Look at little Miguel here, right there in the middle. Could you please tell us who all these people are?
Yeah, we don't have many photographs in our family. My mother didn't like them. She didn't like photographs at all. And that's my sister. And that's my mother. And that's basically the only family that I have or had. And that's shortly before we came to the States.
They take it back in the 70s.
I won't say the year. I won't say the era.
The style looks like the
You can
70s.
figure that out by watching it.
We
But
have
it was
another-
definitely. I would say the 70s is a good time. Yeah, 70s.
Yeah,
is
look at
very
you
good.
in a suit.
Yeah.
You were even in a suit back then.
Looking
was back
dapper.
then.
Looking dapper.
Yeah,
Look at
that
that
was
old
the
dapper
norm.
guy.
I mean, we were working class, but that was the norm.
Right.
That was definitely the norm. If you were poor, working class, when you were in public, you still dressed up. At least back then
Yes.
it was for a little while.
Okay.
And then we came to the States. The States were more relaxed, but in Mexico at the time, it was much more like in the past. But in the States, it was much more relaxed, so we didn't have to do that at all.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a damaged photograph, and it's just one of the few things we have left.
And I got another one for you, Gore. This one. Who is this?
Oh,
Wait, do you hear this,
This is
guys?
20
It's pretty cool.
now first of all, I'm wearing a Roxy Music. Roxy Music is one of my favorite bands, and Brian Ferry and his crowd, Brian Eno. And where's that book? This was in 2018. A friend of mine says, "Do you want to go to the Dallas Horror Fest?" And I like some horror films, but it's not the genre I go to. But it looked like fun, and I said, "Sure, why not?" Right? I said, "Sure, why not?" And I head over there, and everybody was there at this thing. Oh, sorry. Subscribed. But everybody was there. Elvira was there. Clive Barker was there, and I got to meet Clive Barker briefly.
Man.
Stranger Things had just hit, so all those Stranger Kids the lines for them was insane. I don't know how many Freddys were there. I have no idea. It was just packed with all these horror people. For me, obviously, I didn't stand in line for anybody. And then I see that man there, and that's Dan Mendoza.
Right.
Dan Mendoza had nobody at his table.
That's who this is, you guys.
And yes, Dan Mendoza is the creator of
Yep.
Trap.
Yep.
You know, Zombie Tramp, right? And I remember I was reading Zombie Tramp. I like his Zombie Tramp comics. But that was the same weekend they were doing a Comic-Con somewhere in Texas, and I wondered why he wasn't there. I don't think he did well here because whenever I would go by his table, no one would be at his table. And so I went to talk to him, and I had that Roxy Music shirt. And he goes, "Can I pinch the nipples of the girls on it?" I said, "Sure." So that's what he's doing there. That's what he's doing there.
Nice.
And,
That's what he's doing right there. You can see it. I was wondering.
That's exactly what he's doing.
That's awesome.
And,
I can see it
I
right
bought
there.
some prints from him and some books from him because I like him. I really like what he's doing with that comic. It's a silly comic. It's
Yeah.
but it was actually a YouTuber who no longer is around. Forgot his name. But he kept making these videos about these Zombie Tramp books.
Yep.
And I told Dan Mendoza when I met him about it, he knew who he was. And he had helped promote him in ways that other people had never knew. And so,
Sure.
but but that's Zombie Tramp, and I like the comic. And there were some legal issues where he lost the rights to it, but now he's got it back, and I think he's doing something
Right.
with Lady Death and with Zombie Tramp on Kickstarter.
Right.
But really nice guy. I really liked him. That's who.
All right.
That's who it is. Yeah.
Next, we got another picture here. Who's this?
Oh, okay. That is John Sayles. John Sayles, you think you know him because he did 8 Men Out.
8 Men Out. Yep.
And 95, he did a film called Lone Star, which I think is the best film about Texas. And leave it to a New Yorker to get us right. And I told him that when I met him. He came down to this part of Texas for the anniversary of Lone Star. But when I shook his hand, I said, so you and Richard Linklater are responsible for Matthew McConaughey. And he started to laugh. Don't blame me. He shook his hands. Don't blame me. I don't know what he meant by that. Because what happened was McConaughey had done Dazed and Confused, and Linklater is a fellow Texan and the Houston area. And then that Dazed and Confused part, that
Right.
big part that he has, it's a wonderful character, right? But then John Sayles hired him to play a deputy sheriff, a bit part, but he's really good at it.
Right.
And Lone Star is a great film. It starred Cooper, forget his first name, Cooper, Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. Yeah.
Christopherson's in it. And it really gets Texas right. The whole dynamics of everything, of a small town in Texas in the late 60s and 70s. All the class issues, the race issues, political issues, but at the heart of it is the human element of it. It's a brilliant film. And it was wonderful to meet John Sayles because I've always liked him. I mean, I think one of the earliest films he did, he co-wrote Piranha. Remember that film from the 70s, Piranha?
Yep.
But he also is a ghostwriter. I think he worked on the Apollo film, that the one with Tom Hanks that Ron Howard did.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks. He also worked on The Alamo. I think another Ron Howard film, where he does script editing, whatever you call it, when he fixes a script. But he's just a fantastic filmmaker. But that's who that is, and so it was wonderful to meet him.
Okay, getting on to three more photos I got, just so everybody knows. Sorry, guys. Here
I'm
we go.
going along over this. I apologize.
No, you're not. Absolutely not. Our historical reference here from school. Everybody remember this
Wuthering
book?
Heights. Yeah, that's Wuthering Heights. That's the school we had to buy, and I remember really being angry because I thought it was some romantic, sentimental nonsense. And and so I'm thinking, I was first angry we had to buy it.
Yep.
And then
me
we
too.
had to read it. But then I began to read the darn thing. And the story is about Heathcliff and Catherine. And it's a devastating story. And that book there, it's a love story, but it's a very self-destructive story. And you see these two people, Heathcliff and Catherine, and you really feel for them, even though they are basically something very primal.
Right.
And already in comics, I had already encountered people like that in comics, not just with Daredevil, not just with Elektra, but some of the independent comics I haven't discussed. So in a way, the comics had already set me up, and also with movies. As Jojo knows and Carlito knows, I think you might know, is when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of movies that were for adults.
Right.
When I was 6 or 7 years old, they would drop me off in the theater on Saturdays. My parents would go shopping. And it was a time when you would see 7 and 8 year olds by themselves in the theater.
Yep.
It was PG, I would go and see it, no matter what it was.
Mhm.
If I could sneak in, it was rated R, I would go and see it.
Yep.
Our neighbors, now mind you, I went to a Catholic school. Our neighbor, who we went to school together, my friend and I, same Catholic school, they would go to the drive-thrus on the weekends. And they would take us to go see a bunch of rated R films. I saw Alien in the theater, there drive-thru. I saw The Warriors there at the drive-thru.
Yes.
And the whole bunch, they would only have us cover up when there was any kind of nudity. We were in the back
Sure.
seat. Okay, you can't watch that.
Yep.
So anyway, so by the time we got to Wuthering Heights, up until this time, I'm thinking, there's books like this? And that led me to my own exploration of writers like that. And then Hamlet. You know, Hamlet is like Grendel from Matt Wagner's
Yep,
comics.
Grindel. Yep, I have the
Back
collection.
here, right?
It
I had
has-
already discovered Grendel in Mage.
Mhm.
You know, he's also like V for Vendetta. He's
Yep.
also, I had already discovered V for Vendetta in Warrior Magazine. He's like Miracle Man, which I had discovered in Warrior Magazine earlier. And and so you see all these mature comics, which I had already discovered with, you know, I was the heretic, I was the heathen, because I was reading these things. And I had discovered Heavy Metal Magazine. I was able to buy it at a convenience store when it got lodged in with the Warren magazines, Eerie,
Yep.
Vampirella, Famous Monsters, stuff that I read, Conan, Savage Sword of Conan, Epic magazine. So I was there and I would put it in a stack and then go pay for it. And until I got caught. Until the guy says, no, this should be back here with the Playboys and the Hustlers and the Swank and the Penthouse behind the counter.
Yep.
So I remember the clerk looked at me like I was some kind of little perverted kid. And anyway, so that's what that book really, that one in Hamlet, those type of storylines, you know, and that made me into a book reader, a serious book reader.
Okay, I got another picture. Here we go. This one.
All these photographs. Oh, yeah.
Explain this.
That's
This is interesting, you
That's
guys.
Theodore Jericho's painting from the early 19th century. It's a huge canvas. And this was inspired. I have that print up on my wall. I have a few prints on my wall here. But that's in a very arresting photograph. And what you see there, basically the people are life size, maybe a little bit bigger than the spectators there.
Yeah. The picture
What you
is
can't
ginormous.
see in the horizon is a mast and a sail. But it's so far away, they can't be seen. And what this is based on is basically off the coast of Africa, a ship was in trouble. But the thing is, all the upper class and everyone, it's like Titanic, right? They got the boats.
Right.
All the hired help, they had to make their own raft. And there was about 147 of them. They made this raft. Within a couple of days, there was half of them, more than half of them, had been killed or died. And then cannibalism ensues to survive.
Right. The story
about-
behind it.
In about 2
Wow.
weeks' time, only about 14 or so survived. And it's just in a very arresting painting. But the way I look at these paintings is the way I look at the comics, especially the good artists. What I mean by the good artists is not the ones who can draw like Neil Adams, who's brilliant, right?
Right.
Who can do very realistic things. But someone like Creepax, who I like, or back to Frank Miller, right? What he
Right.
can do on a panel. And you study those panels. And you study what are they trying to do here. But that painting there is just something when you look at, just when you think things can be bad, oh no, they can be definitely worse. You could have been on that raft, the Raft of the Medusa by Theodore Jericho. A stunning painting, absolutely stunning. My understanding, it's almost as popular as the Mona Lisa when people go to the Louvre in Paris.
Right. Right.
Because you just can't take your eyes off it. You just
Yep.
can't. You just can't.
Wow. Wow.
It's a lot smaller than you think, though.
Hmm.
The Mona Lisa.
Yeah,
I
boy,
have a
it's tiny, tiny, tiny.
Yeah, it's very
But
tiny.
Fantomas has the original. Fantomas is the comic my icon. He has the original. The one at the Louvre is a forgery.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a bit if you want to. But Fantomas, yeah, this guy right
Absolutely.
here, Fantomas.
Okay, now I got to. There we go. There we go. Yep. This is when.
That's
Here,
okay.
show one more time, Gore. Show that again. Sorry.
It's Fantomas there or here.
Here we go.
Yeah, or here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, now I have a special treat for you guys. Gore, are you ready? I'm gonna show this
I
up.
don't know. This is kind of okay. Go.
You're good. You're good. Here we go. This is one of G-Man's favorites. This is he's gonna narrate it, but yeah, I love this. So you guys you got to hear this. You ready? Here we go.
Oh, okay. I did a video and on my book channel about some stories that were interrelated. One of them is by Ernest Hemingway, Hills Like White Elephants. It's about a relationship that is falling apart. Um, a couple is in Spain, and the man wants the woman without ever saying he wants her to have an abortion. And he wants to have the abortion. And she goes, well, if I have it, are things still going to be like they were before? Another story is April is the Cruelest Month by Gabriela Infante. You see that there.
Yes.
He was a
Yes.
Cuban writer influenced by Hemingway. And the writing style is about a young couple on their honeymoon.
Yep.
And the woman in the storyline is asking questions such as, after they kiss on a cliff, she says, you took a picture of me here. He goes, yes. Don't ever photograph another woman here again. Why would I do that? But one day when we're divorced, why would I divorce you? We just got married. But throughout the story, there are little hints, something's not right. And the way the story ends is tragic for the woman. Now here, the love affair is not over, but she's thinking one day it might be over. This is as best as it gets. And then I thought about this film called La Note.
Yes.
La Note, that's Jean Moreau, that's Mastroianni, and this is a film by Michelangelo Antonioni. He's known for Blow Up. That's the film he's best known for, with Vanessa Redgrave. And but there's a letter here, and if you don't mind, I guess I'll read part of the letter.
Please.
It's a love letter, but if you haven't seen the film, the context of this letter is devastating in the film. And it's towards the end of the movie. And it's an incredible love letter. And if you, I guess I'll read it. Here we go.
Excellent.
I'm not going to say who wrote the letter. I'm not going to say who wrote it.
Yep.
If it's a man who wrote it. But here we go. When I awoke this morning, you were still asleep. I came out of my slumber very slowly. I heard your gentle breathing. And through the strands of hair that had fallen on your face, I saw your eyes. And my emotions were aroused. I felt like crying out and waking you up. For you were sleeping so silently, you almost seemed lifeless. In the shadows, the flesh of your arms and your throat appeared so vibrant, so warm and moist, that I wanted to press my lips against it. But the thought of disturbing your sleep, of having you awake in my arms again, held me back. Instead, I preferred to have something that no one could take from me, something that would be mine alone, an image of you that would be everlasting. Beyond your face, I saw a pure and beautiful vision in which you and I were reflected in another dimension that encompassed all the years of my life, all the years to come, all the years before I met you, when I was preparing to meet you. That was the most miraculous part of this vision, to feel for the first time that you belonged to me, that this night would never end but would go on forever with you beside me, with the warmth of your body, your thoughts, your willingness united with mine. At that moment, I realized how much I loved you, and the sensation was so intense that my eyes began flowing with tears, for I felt that this must never end, that we should remain like this for the rest of our lives, not only to be near one another, but also to feel we belong to each other. A way of life that could never be destroyed by anyone or anything, except the torpor of habit, which is our only threat. And then you began to wake up, and still half asleep, you smiled and put your arms around me, and I felt there was nothing to fear, that we would always remain as we were that moment, bound together by something stronger than time, stronger than habit.
Oh,
That scene in that film, when I saw this, is absolutely devastating in the context of this film. And now that I mention it, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, brilliant comic artists. You guys probably have seen this. They did Spider-Man Blue.
Yep.
And Daredevil Yellow. In Spider-Man Blue, you have Peter Parker on the anniversary of Gwen Stacy going up to a basement. and reading into a recorder things he always wanted to tell Gwen Stacy. He does this every year. And at one point, Mary Jane notices this, but she doesn't object. He understands his love for her. It's an incredible story. And then they did sort of the same thing with Daredevil Yellow, where you have Matt Murdock writing a letter to a dead Karen Page, remembering the day he met her when she walked into the office and his eyes fell on her and her eyes fell on him.
Awesome.
And, you know, comics can do that.
Yep.
And one of the frustrations with many of my friends and acquaintances who don't read comics, who look down on the medium.
Right.
And the books are one thing, the films are one thing, but the comics can't do that, which is absurd. And so whenever I read comics, I read them like I read books. When I read books, to read comics. When I see movies, the same way, right? And because you can find these things when it's really well done by these brilliant creators. Like I tell my acquaintances when they die, go, here's a pencil, draw me a story. What? Yeah, draw me a story. Can you do it? They can't. They can't.
Right.
They can't draw you a story.
Right.
And then worse, you have a deadline, 22 pages, 2 weeks, and that's just one story. And here's another one, right? You know how Kirby, Burns, Smith, Adams, Geffen, you name the list of Buscema's, how they did it, astounding.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Whew. That was excellent. That was excellent, Gore. Thank you so much for that.
Oh well, you're welcome, Robert.
It's fantastic.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, love.
So I know you're a lover of all storytelling, but what would you say is your favorite like medium?
That's tough, JoJo. You know, I don't
Like,
know.
do you gravitate
I mean,
towards one more than the other? Because I know you like literature a lot and obviously comics. But you mentioned music earlier, and obviously there's theater too, you know. Just curious.
it's tough because it is tough between movies and actually movies and books. Down to it, really,
Yeah.
it comes to that.
Right.
And because we're the visual generation. I mean, all of us grew up with movies in some degree. Our minds have been shaped by them. I think at the end it would have to be the books because when you read a storyline, for example, Great Gatsby, right? There have been many adaptations of Gatsby. Many of them have been very faithful, but it doesn't really work because
Mhm.
the book works, the images that are presented in the mind. Like this letter that I read, right? Now, this is from a film, but it's a very literary letter. It stays with you in a way that you like the sound of the words, the images that it projects
Yes.
in a way. And I think I come to that, even though visually films were the first thing that I remember.
Right.
I mean, as a kid, and certainly, you know, this here, all of you know this. I can say this easily.
Yep.
All of us know this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, if you were in the theater when this premiered, you know,
Oh yeah.
and then that beautiful scene when she's falling,
Yep. Yep.
and he comes out and he's in a suit and he looks up and down at this phone booth, right?
Yep.
How much of a phone
Yep.
booth? I
It's
remember
classic.
the audience chuckling. The audience
Yes.
was chuckling. The audience, and then the music, dun, 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 it begins
Yep.
like this momentum, and then she falls, and he's Superman, and he catches her, and he says, and you know, she says,
Awesome.
"You've got me. Who's got you?" You know, and the music, and he saves her. It's a beautiful moment in film, I think. And so sometimes when I watch stuff like that, I'm thinking, no, it's movies that I like. Because that's something the printed word can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Because the combination of making a movie, the editing, the acting, the music, and if you have an audience, what it does,
Right.
it's very moving.
Right.
And that film, when I saw it, now that one didn't lead me to Superman comics, but I think it's the best of the superhero films because this one transcends the genre of what it is. Just like The Searchers transcends the Western, or Shane transcends the Western, or the Sergio Leone spaghetti Westerns transcend the genre of Westerns, right? Become a certain high art. Just like John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a fan favorite of many people. I like it too. Transcends the genre. The Exorcist transcends the genre. The Omen.
Yep.
And the first Halloween, right? You know,
Yep.
I think you all
Yep.
know where I'm going
Right.
with this.
Yes, those are all horror
Shining.
movies.
That's all horror. And The Shining. And all the others. Shining, one of my favorites, was The Omen. I saw The Omen.
We just need Fright Night on that list.
Yeah.
Is it as good as The Omen?
transcends
The Omen's
all
fantastic.
genre.
Is it as good as The Omen though? I don't know.
Of
The Omen's
course, I would have
terrifying.
thought
I love The Omen.
I thought it would have been a little bit better. Spider-Man would have swung in. But,
Yeah, because Michael, you're a Spider-Man guy, right?
I'm a Marvel guy. Period.
Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Cool.
Go ahead, buddy.
If you're done, cool.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to interrupt. Definitely.
No. Go ahead, buddy.
So, Gore, what is the first film that you remember, and what impact did it have on you?
See, when we grew up in Mexico when I was little, when I grew up, when I was really little, and my mother would always watch films, and it's tough to say because are you guys familiar with Mexican wrestling?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you know you have El Santo. They all wear masks, right?
Yep.
El Santo's the most famous. He's got a silver mask on, and there was Blue Demon, Mil Máscaras, and also they had action figures at the time. Those were the toys, and they made movies of these. And I remember some of those films, but the problem is, I don't know, they get convoluted because when we came to the States, and English is my second language, so I did not speak a word of English, neither did my family. Although my sister did, because she went to a boarding school and she learned English. I did not.
Wow.
And but I would go to the movies, and
Sure.
one of the earliest I do remember seeing American films was a Sean Connery film with Audrey Hepburn. It's about Robin Hood.
Yep.
Robin and Marion. Is that right?
I think so. Yep.
And the way it would work, I would pay my ticket, and I would just walk in midway through a film. And Robert Shaw was in the film, and I remember the ending very arresting because both of them die. That it's like a suicide. It's a mutual. They both commit suicide. But after it's one of the earliest that I can remember. And also, I guess some of the Planet of the Apes films, the retrospective of them, they would show them in the theater, and I would go see them as well. But again, it's a tough one. Those ones just come to mind. So I watched a lot of stuff that was adult oriented that went over my
Right.
head. But emotionally, even as a
Right.
kid, it resonates. Death resonates. Love resonates. Happiness resonates. Even though it's happening to a bunch of grown-ups. I mean, that's why I don't like talking down to kids.
Yeah.
And or this attitude of infantilization of things. I'm thinking, did the grown-ups forget they were once children? And I think sometimes my fellow grown-ups, they do forget they were kids, right? So
Was it The Prince of Thieves? Is that the name of the movie?
No, it
No,
was
it's
Robin and Marion,
Robin and Marion. It was
And
Robin and Marion.
1976.
Yep. There we go.
okay, that would have been one of the
Movie
first
you
ones.
might-
Yeah, that would have been one of the first ones I saw in the theater. And when I would get dropped off, I remember before my mother died a few years ago, I had asked her. I said, "You would drop me off on Saturday mornings at the theater?" And she goes, "Why did you do that?" "Well, you wouldn't leave us alone. You said you wanted to go to the movies all week. You wanted to go to the movies, and also you were basically in the way because they would go shopping and stuff."
Sure.
I go, "Okay. So you never thought anything? No, we trusted you." It's not that it would happen to me. They were saying we trusted you,
Right.
and I guess that meant they trusted me. I wouldn't get into any kind of mischief. but I guess they probably did feel that nothing bad was going to happen to me with an adult, right? But again, it was the time when you did see kids in the movie theater, and that's how I snuck in to see Conan when Conan
Right.
premiered. And Conan I liked a lot, and I was terrified an adult was going to come in and take me out.
It was part of the fun of it, though, right?
Yeah,
There's that
I
like
remember those
thrill
days.
of it too. Like, ooh, I shouldn't be here, but it's so good. I
Yeah.
Oh,
wanna keep
this was
watching.
my life in movie theater. I would see so many rated R
Yeah.
films. And
See,
I never got
it's
pulled
funny.
out. I never did. But
It's
I got
funny that my mom and my aunt used to drop off at the comic shop because I was in their way when they went dress shopping and shoe shopping. So I was always at the comic shop. They'd drop off there and come back a couple hours later.
Gary V too. He was dropped at the movie theater just like we all were, I think.
It's a win-win for them.
Yeah, Gary knows. Gary's, besides him and Damien, they're probably the biggest Conan fans that I know.
Oh yeah.
And when as a kid, this really made me angry. I would be watching the previews.
Yep.
Like all of us watch the previews, right, on TV or in a film. And I'll
Sure.
be going, don't be rated R. Don't be rated R. Don't be
Yep.
rated R. Don't be rated R. Boom, rated R. And what were the films that I wanted to see that were R? Don't be rated R. Apocalypse Now. I saw the previews
Yep.
to Apocalypse Now. I wanted to see
Yep.
that. It was R.
Yep.
American Gigolo. I saw American
Yep.
Gigolo, and I wanted
Yep.
R. Boom. Couldn't see that. I was angry. The Shining. R. Couldn't see it. The Warrior. R. Couldn't see it, but eventually I did get to see it. Stripes. Couldn't see it, but I snuck in to see Stripes. And Blade Runner.
Yep.
Blade Runner is probably the one that infuriated me the most. As you can see behind me, you see this magazine here?
I was looking at that earlier.
Love
I
it.
bought this when I was a kid. This came out in
Excellent.
1982, right before the film came out.
So cool.
I read this thing to death,
Mhm.
and I could not sneak into the film.
Wow.
And it frustrated me beyond measure that I couldn't see this in the theater.
It's one of my favorite movies.
And I remember, and I would try to rationalize this, whenever, because when you guys remember when HBO came out, HBO was
Yeah.
free on the weekends.
Yep.
Like every few months, there'll be like a free thing. Because I was a good student, good kid. On the weekends, I could watch whatever I wanted. My parents were working all the time; they were busy, so I sat in the TV and just watched. But when HBO was on, I had
Sure.
no TV guide,
No.
so I didn't know what was going to come next, and I didn't want to miss anything. And I knew that after 7 p.m., the R films came in. When Excalibur, the preview
Oh.
to Excalibur was out,
Yeah.
don't be rated R. Don't be rated R.
Yeah,
Damn it,
yeah.
it was R.
Uh-huh. the
But it
same
was on
thing.
HBO.
It's funny.
And so I watched it, and I was going, wow. Cat People.
Yeah.
Don't be rated R. Don't be rated R. Don't be rated R.
Yep.
And wow, Cat People, I like Cat People a lot.
So did I.
And Heavy Metal, the
Natasha
film.
Kinski.
Bingo. Yeah,
I've
that's
seen
easy.
that.
Heavy Metal, the film, right?
Yep.
And I had already discovered heavy metal around, I think, right after the film, and because I was able to buy the magazine, and so, and I remember that one I did get in trouble for because it was on HBO, and we had family over from Mexico had come over to see us,
Right.
and they were packed, but they weren't paying attention. I was watching TV, but then you see that scene with the Richard Corbin Den character.
Yeah.
Where he's fully naked. You see his penis and everything. And then the woman rests. And I remember at one point, one of my family goes, "What are you watching?" And I go, "Oh, I changed the channel." and it goes, "You're watching cartoons." And I had to wait for them to leave to just change
Right.
it back. And, so heavy metal was actually a very big influence on me. And eventually, when I saw Blade Runner, eventually I did get to see it. It's an extraordinary film. Yeah.
Yes.
The comic's my birthday comic as well.
I'm sorry?
Blade Runner issue 1. The
that's
comic is my birthday comic.
Oh, it is. That's the one. Is it the one? I think Archie Goodwin did the writing, and was it Al Williamson, the artwork?
I think
I
it
think
came
it
out
was
either the day before or the day after my birthday, the 3rd of October,
birthday.
82.
man.
Which
The comic is
which
pretty
cut do you
faithful.
like the most? Oh, sorry. Which
I don't have
cut
a preference.
do
I
you
saw
like
the
the
first
most?
one.
You know?
I like the both. I like the narration one and the one without the
Yep.
narration.
Yeah.
And then there's
I
another
have an
one without the
appreciation
narration
for
that's
both,
even
yeah.
longer. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. My understanding is that when it premiered, they did that screen test. They did
Yep.
one in Dallas, and the audience came out annoyed. And
Yep.
they did the one without the voiceover. And when they came out of
Mm-hmm.
Dallas, they went to Ridley Scott and said, "You got to have the voiceover."
Yep.
And but as you guys know, what happened here was, unfortunately for that film, it came out on the heels of Indiana Jones
Yep.
and
Mm.
Empire. So you had this audience going in expecting that, and instead they got this beauty. Visually, it's stunning,
Mhm.
but it's a romance, it's a crime drama,
Yep.
and it disappointed a lot of people. You know, people were just baffled by it, and
Right.
it failed. And it really did. Even critics were like, "What is this?"
Right.
And
Right.
that's one of the things I think. What's one of the unintended consequences of Star Wars was, you know, remember prior to Star Wars, you had films. Oh yeah, Silent Running was one of the early
Yep.
films that I saw as a kid. Silent Running, Logan's Run, Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, 2001: Space Odyssey. All these, what I guess you could say, highbrow science fiction stories, I guess, so to
Right.
speak. But then Star Wars messed everything up for the studios. The studios said, "This is what people want," right?
Yeah.
And I like Star Wars and I like Empire Strikes Back, but I like those other films as well. But I think
Mhm.
the audience, when they went in before Harrison Ford, you know, yeah, they were disappointed.
Well, you left one out, Barbarella.
Barbarella.
Oh, Barbarella. Duran.
That was sort of like a Flash Gordon, you know,
Yep.
picture. It kind of Italian, looked like Italian.
Yeah,
Nice.
Barbarella was based on a French comic, which I saw in
Mhm.
Heavy Metal magazine.
Yeah.
And before I saw the film, I knew about Barbarella. But then when I saw it in Heavy Metal magazine, and then when Duran Duran, you know, became a huge, I like
Huge
Duran
thing,
Duran,
yep.
early on, younger, and they got their name from a character in Barbarella.
Yep.
And but to be fair,
Look
they
at the
made some
knowledge
really-
dropping. Look at the knowledge dropping. They got Duran Duran got them their name from that movie,
Mhm.
correct? Yeah,
Barbarella.
from Barbarella. A lot of
There's a
people didn't know
character in
that
it.
as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's how I knew about it, because I liked Duran Duran. And when you come in with comics and music at that time, when it came, what do you call it, the new wave, right? I mean, you can include Roxy music with that.
Right.
Gary Newman and Cars, right? Gary Newman,
Right.
and then Joy Division,
Yep.
New Order,
Oh, my
Patient
goodness.
Road. You
Yep.
know, to some degree, maybe
Fast Mode,
Susie and the Banshees.
Yes.
Kraftwerk from Germany.
Yes.
What the thing is about them, they were all very cinematic in their approach, and also science fiction.
Yep.
And I remember seeing David Bowie on SNL, and he was dressed in his clown outfit, and I
Yep.
think he was singing "Ashes to Ashes."
Ashes to Ashes. Yep.
And I'm thinking, this is pretty cool. And then when Cat People premiered, he has that song, right, "Putting Out Fire," and it was
Right.
right before, I think, when Let's Dance came out. But I had already been listening to Bowie before this, even though locally you wouldn't hear Bowie's music really very much, not until Let's Dance and MTV
Right.
and everything blew up. But SNL and places like that, you would see quote unquote obscure people like that, like him and Gary Newman. But they all tied into comics because they were science fiction, and they were otherworldly and stuff like that. And so it worked quite well for them.
Very ahead of their times.
Yeah, they were.
Yes, they were. Big time.
Quick question: why is Professor X sitting there staring at me?
Professor X?
He's staring this whole time at me, you know. Wonder if I'm doing something wrong or
That's the Lovecraft. Is that the H.P. Lovecraft picture?
yeah.
Robert's a
I
big
mean,
Lovecraft.
Yeah, it's Gore's logo, buddy.
Yeah, I know it is. He just sitting there
Yeah,
staring at me.
I
Oh,
know,
the
I can see
Fantomas
that.
one. I'm sorry. I thought I was looking at your Lovecraft. No, that's
Hey.
Fantomas. That's the Mexican comic.
Yeah. There you go.
You know
Yep.
that, right?
There you go. So tell people about this, Gore. About this comic.
This is one of the greatest frustrations of my life. I don't have any frustrations. And even though I like serious drama and tragedy, I'm always pretty cheery. I think maybe that's it works for me.
Right.
Fantomas is a Mexican comic. It came out in the late 60s. It
Yep.
continued into the 90s.
The 90s, yep.
He was inspired by a French pulp, early 20th century storylines where Fantomas is a serial killer, a murderer, a rapist, a thief, all these terrible things. But apparently they're very popular in France in the early 20th century and very popular with the surreal movement and the Dada movement, you know, Dali and that crowd and Picasso. They loved those stories because they were so avant-garde, they were so, transgressive. And so this is one of the influences. The other one was Diabolic. Diabolic is an Italian comic. They made a film with that in the 60s. Mandrake the Magician, as you can see by the costume there. Lee Fawkes the Phantom.
Exactly.
You see that here. Doc Savage, Bruce Wayne, James Bond. These are all influences about Fantomas. And so what these Mexican creators did in the 60s was, because you see in Mexico, comics were extremely popular, but extremely cheap in the sense that paper was cheap. You would find them with clothespins hanging from places. The paper is even cheaper than newspaper.
Yeah.
Fantomas was unusual because he was also an intellectual. And it was a Mexican comic, but he was based in Paris. But this was intentional because the comic got into politics. It always included some politics in the early issues going on with Mexico that had been published in Mexico would have been a problem. But since he's based in Paris, his nationality is never identified. Fantoma speaks multiple languages. Very cultured man. And set in Paris, France, and he basically is a superhero, except for one thing. He's also a thief. He's a thief of beautiful things. When I mentioned earlier about the Louvre and the Mona Lisa, he has the original Mona Lisa. He stole it. So he put a fake one in the Louvre. Many of the paintings in the Louvre he has. The original, he has the originals, the other the fake. It's a habit he can't control. He loves beautiful things. He's a notorious playboy. I'm not kidding. In the comics, he dates Linda Carter. That's right. When Linda Carter was married, he was dating Linda Carter. They're at some resort. They're having an affair. Brigitte Bardot. In another one, Jane Fonda. He's showing her a film of an avant-garde Spanish filmmaker. Carla Cardinale. Sophia Loren. I'm trying to find the issue where he dates one of the Charlie's Angels girls. Not Farrah Fawcett, who was a fellow Texan. Jacqueline Smith.
Jacqueline Smith.
There's one where Jacqueline Smith appears. How they got? I mean, you could only get away with this, I guess, in Mexico with these comics. And but what he did was the comic was always fascinating because the writers, even though the people who read these comics were poor and working class kids, they always wanted to have some culture in the comic. So he's friends with writers from around the world. He's friends with artists. So Picasso appears in the comic. Dali appears in the comic. Sigmund Freud appears in the comics. Great writers from the 60s and 70s appear. Norman Mailer appears in the comic. Susan Sontag, Alberto Moravia. Anyway, I mean, they did this intentional. He's got the women around him. His assistants are all women, and they're all named after the zodiac. Aquarius and Pisces and them. He doesn't get involved with them. They're all in love with him, but he doesn't get involved with them. He never takes off his mask. And there's one storyline which I discussed in one of my videos, and he had Robert Harris, where he has these dreams,
right,
of a woman he doesn't recognize and a shadow. And one of his mentors is this genius who's got a time machine and says, well, you need to be analyzed by somebody. Let's send you back to Sigmund Freud. So he goes back in time on the deathbed of Sigmund Freud. Freud died in 1939, the eve of the Second World
Right.
War. And Freud had already written his book, Civilization and Its Discontents, one of his last books, which in a way was a prelude of fascism. I mean, analyzing of what fascism was. Freud thinks he's dreaming when Fantomas appears to him. He thinks it's all a dream. And he's dying of cancer in London. And Fantomas tells him his dilemma. And Freud says, what are your earliest memories of your family? And he goes, I remember my mother would cry a lot. And she would go visit my father in jail. And I never saw them again at one point. At one point, I was put in an orphanage. I don't know who adopted me, etc. And finally, the comic ends with Freud thinking, the woman in the image is your mother, the one you don't recognize. The shadow you see is your father. And the reason you steal all these things, these precious cultural, artistic things, is you're trying to retrieve what you've lost. This was a comic in the 70s. You would never see that with Bruce Wayne.
Right.
You would never see that analysis like that. I mean, we have writers who could do that, right? But this was done in a comic in the 70s. And they would do these with these storylines. That was the story, you know? And but again, he did get into politics and such, right? This one deals with the Falkland Wars, Argentina and England, and he's obviously on the side of Argentina. This one is probably incredible. This one is because the comic, as you can see in Mexico, they have different, depending on the publishers, right? Different sizes.
Right.
This one is about the storyline of the son of Hitler. Apparently, in his storyline, before Hitler died, he had a lover, a woman from Uruguay, who had been in Germany, in Hamburg. And he loved her more than the woman he mutually committed suicide with. They had a child. But right before Hitler committed suicide, when the Soviets took over Berlin, he left instructions for my sons to be sent back and to be raised in Latin America. But with clear instructions that 33 years later, he'll rise and bring back the Fourth Reich. And the reason it's 33 years is the death of Christ. And Hitler, the son of Hitler, is going to be like the Messiah. So what happens in the comic, it takes place in the late 70s, because of television and subliminal messages, and it makes democratic societies like in the West, in the US, and in Europe turn nationalistic, xenophobic, and fascist. And Fantomas begins to notice this. And he eventually realizes this. The 33rd year, this guy appears, the son of Hitler. Nazism is back. He says, that's what's going on. He figures this out. And it's like a 10, 12 issue story where he basically goes after him.
I was going to ask you. No, go ahead, Gore.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, that's why Fantomas is probably one of the greatest comics no one will ever read. Two reasons. One, it's only in Spanish. Two, it's never been translated. Actually, three, it's never been collected in any kind of trade or omnibus. There's about 600 issues of Fantomas. I have about 300 of them. I've been collecting them for decades. Even when I traveled to Mexico a while back, you can't find them. They're on eBay. They sell for various prices, but the ones I have, I have.
Right.
But it's frustrating because I've done videos about this, and the response from not just in the U.S. but in Latin America and in Europe is, we want to read this.
Yes.
As you can't.
Yes. Big time.
And it's a great comic. And so, yeah, it's one of my favorites. So that's the icon that I use is Fantomas.
Nice. Look at that little history in there as well. I love it.
It was intentional.
Yep.
That was always something cultural in the comics. Yeah.
Hey, Robert.
Yep. I got
I'm
you.
gonna have to twist off. I got to meet my
Henry,
brothers.
All right, buddy.
And y'all have a good time. I enjoyed
Thank you
it.
for being here. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I gotta go, but family calls. So
Family first.
Pleasure
we'll
meeting
see
you.
y'all later.
Seeing you.
See you later, Monty.
See you later.
Oh man.
It's not very often that I can say that I've been places that some people are jealous of, because I used to go to Haworth, where the Bronte sisters are from, weekly.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I used to deliver there, and I've visited there as well because we like history. So we've been there. I used to drive my lorry up the very steep hill, and it is very steep. So I remember, and I used to deliver in the local pub there. So I know that place very well.
Do you remember how they
Literally.
died?
Say
Do
again.
you know what? Do you remember the reason? Do you know what? I learned this fairly recently about how they all died and why they died so young. Do you remember that?
I don't know that. I can't remember that. I probably have learnt it at some point within English literature when I was younger, but I can't remember.
Well, the Brontes, there was Jane Eyre, right? And there was Wuthering Heights. And there was another Bronte. They were all writers. But these poor girls left isolated in this little town. But they were all very sick all the time. And it's discovered that their home was at the bottom of a hill. And above the hill was a cemetery. And the cemetery was above the water supply.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So they were drinking basically contaminated water from the dead. Which is an interesting irony because ghosts are important and the dead resonate in Jane Eyre, especially in Wuthering Heights.
Right.
I mean, so they died really young. I think they were in their 30s, late 20s and 30s when somebody died. But they were always sick. But the thing is, drinking water was from decayed corpses.
Oof.
Horrific. You know?
Oof.
And but those two women changed history. I don't know how many times I've seen contemporary writers that I like reference either Jane Eyre or Wuthering Heights. Had no idea how important they were to fiction and to storytelling, but they did, you know. And that's why in the 80s when I discovered Kate Bush,
Yeah.
she sings Wuthering Heights.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, hey, Heathcliff and Kathy. And Kate Bush is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yep. Carlito, you got another question?
You read my mind.
Yes, I did. I could see it in your eyes.
And the transition to music was perfect.
Good.
Speaking of music, Gore, what is your favorite composer and what piece or what album speaks the most to you?
Composers, it's Beethoven. I mean,
Yeah.
Beethoven always resonates with me. And I remember when I saw the Gary Oldman film, I already liked Beethoven before I saw Gary Oldman in Immortal Beloved, right? But I think he did one about Napoleon. Napoleon's the one that I like a lot.
Yep.
And the concerto or the adagios and such. But I couldn't tell you a particular piece. But those of you not seen Immortal Beloved with Gary Oldman, a great actor. I mean, Goldman, I first saw him as Sid Vicious back in the 80s,
Excellent.
right? And then we all know him from The Professional. And of course in this film and Fifth Element and such. But in that film, towards the end, when he's completely deaf, there's a wonderful scene when he's done the Ode to Joy one, right? And he can't hear it. But he's remember when he was a kid running away from his father who beat him. And he goes into a lake and looks up at the stars. And so Beethoven always resonates with me. When it comes to music, though, I really can't say I have a favorite. I have a pantheon of favorites that I like. Same with books and comics, but I couldn't pinpoint just one when it comes to music.
Yes, Chris, I've seen it, and I enjoyed it. So it shows kind of the psychosomatic part of Napoleon and a lot of the strategic maneuvers he did in history. So yeah, it's not bad. It's worth a watch, Carolina. Anybody else? Because I got another little tidbit for everybody, and it's just for Gore.
I have a follow-up on that.
Go ahead, buddy.
Great pick, by the way. But also, so as far as What about film composers? It doesn't have to be modern.
Oh, that's
or-
easy. Morricone.
Yes.
Ennio Morricone. That's right.
Excellent.
I mean, the introduction to me was those spaghetti westerns, right? And which are just extraordinary soundtrack and to the music. But then when I remember in the 80s when I saw The Mission, if you have not seen the beautiful film The Mission with Jeremy Irons
Yes.
and Robert De Niro,
Yes.
set in Brazil, I mean, the music to that, and when I saw that in the theater, people were crying at the end, not just because of that ending, but that music. And then when I saw Cinema Paradiso, that's why I got the Libro Paradiso for my other channel, was Cinema Paradiso. I saw that in the theater. Great movie. Again, I'm in the theater and people are crying at the end. You can visibly hear them. But it has to do with
Right.
that music, Morricone. So I think he's my favorite. I mean, easily for me.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember growing up as a kid watching spaghetti westerns with my dad, and just the music. That was one of the first things that stood out to me. So
It's beautiful. Absolutely extraordinary. I think he's still alive, isn't he? He's like in the 90s or something.
I
Still
think
around.
he passed recently.
Oh,
I
he did?
believe.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay.
It was too far. A little couple years before COVID, I think.
Okay. Okay.
The virus.
Anybody else? Jojo, any more questions? You got them here now. It's your turn.
Come on, JoJo.
So
Come on, Jojo.
about Fright Night. It was so funny. I was doing a live
Love it.
and we were just poking fun. This guy teases me all the time, and it's so funny. Do you ever watch one of our lives? Gorvidal is the one that makes it entertaining, not me at all. It's all him. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that was really funny. I guess I just want to know what your favorite, even though horror isn't your favorite genre. Why have you not seen Fright Night?
It came out in 85. I think 85 was a weak area in movie making for me.
We really
That's
tried last
all.
night.
That's right.
Okay, what gets me is he's seen Fast and Furious.
I
movies.
know. That's what I.
So have I. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's called priorities, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have seen that. Well, you already know, Fast and Furious has a lot of estrogen in those films.
Oh yeah,
You know,
you did tell me about this.
Yes.
Right.
That's right. And estrogen usually sells me on a film. And that's the reason I
Gotcha.
watched them when I saw not just Gal Gadot, but all the other girls in it. And so I think as an American, I'm duty bound to watch the films.
But listen, Fright
Um,
Night. There's some ladies in Fright Night.
This
I know,
thing,
Robert Frank-
real quick, we just had
He's trying
Uncle
to
Roman
encourage me
show up
into it.
too. He's-
Hey, Roman.
No, that
I'm
area-
teasing you. You know, I'm just
There is
teasing you,
one.
Gore. I'm just poking fun.
I love it.
I want to watch Fright Night tonight, JoJo. So
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Carlito, please.
No,
I'm doing a whole March Madness. I'm gonna watch a different new
We have
movie to
be on
me
the same
every day.
Oh, cool.
team, Carlito.
We need to all watch it together. So Jojo, I've
Yes,
mentioned to you
actually, we
after the
should do
show,
that.
Yeah.
We should do like a video stream
That'd be awesome.
together, but not live, of course, private. And all of us watch the movie at one time. I tried to do that last night, Jojo, and I could
Uh-huh.
not get. For some, it has something to do with your browser and trying to click it in. Because we were trying to watch on Amazon together last night.
Mm.
I wanted to be all queued up and ready for you today. And say, I watched it.
I should have known that was a hint.
I had to
I
poke fun. I had to poke
no.
fun.
I got you, buddy.
Should
Sorry, I
have
had to.
known.
I had to.
Everyone has that movie they haven't seen that's like super
Yeah.
popular, beloved. I mean, we all
Yep.
have.
Well, I want to make
Then-
it worse. I'm not a fan of the Back to the Future films.
Yeah.
I think I just lost all subscribers here.
Ouch.
No, you didn't.
I-
No, you didn't.
I'm
It's
not.
your
when
Okay,
that
you
film-
know?
Back to the Future, when that came out, I didn't see it. I think part of the reason for that is the MTV problem.
Right.
Mm.
MTV would play the music to a lot of these films so much that you're thinking, I already saw the film. It's not true,
Right.
but it made you feel this way. And some of the music I couldn't stand. One of them was a Huey Lewis song. and I like MTV, but then you had to watch the videos you liked, you had to put up with stuff you didn't like. And so when I finally did see Back to the Future, I thought it was okay. But I know, especially among comic people, they adore that film. I think it's just okay, and I'm not that interested in that franchise at all. And that puts me in the minority of the general viewing public. And but I understand why they love that movie. But for me, no.
It's all
just
good.
not.
It's okay.
You see, here in the UK, we didn't get the. We only had like 4 channels. We got the 5th channel in 1997, and if you had Sky TV, which was quite expensive, we didn't have it. So I grew up on reruns and watching some of the older things. You mentioned Logan's Run. I remember watching Logan's Run. I grew up watching on Sunday. I think it's Sunday mornings would be Planet of the Apes. I grew up watching all that. Love that, and some of the old ones. That's what I grew up with, and a lot of it was reruns. I remember distinctly getting the Christmas TV guide to see what the new movies were coming out at Christmas. You don't get that now, and I see a lot of my American friends talking about the culture of going to the cinema. I think I can go on my hand. I don't think I've been to the cinema over 100 times easily, and so probably some people can say they've probably going 500 or more. But that wasn't the culture for me as much. I remember going. I remember watching all the Star Wars reruns and doing that. But we didn't have that. So, and MTV, you only had that if you had Sky television. So,
did you guys watch a lot of Top of the Pops? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Was Top of the Pops still big?
Yeah. But it was only on a, let's say, was it Friday night? You'd only get that, and they'd be about half an hour show. So you wouldn't get pounded with music other than the radio, day in, day out. So,
I was going to ask you, would you agree that Top of the Pops, because I don't know how many interviews I've seen with music people, from Morrissey to the New Order people to Roxy Music, Brian Ferret email saying, I was watching Top of the Pops, and then I see XYZ on there, and it changed everything for me. And I think the Top of the Pops go all over the UK, because I get a sense.
Yes, it did. It would have been all over the UK on the Scottish BBC, Welsh BBC. I think it was a Friday night. I can't remember if it stopped. It's more or less they're bringing it back in a style now. I saw that on the news the other day. But because obviously, unless you had radio, listen to the radio, that was the only kind of music other than, let's say, your Saturday morning shows where people come, where bands would come on or something, or the morning shows when they'd have someone singing live. We didn't have a dedicated music channel. So obviously, like Jackass, I watched that on that'd be late night on Channel 5 to see that. And that'd be probably 3 or 4 years later.
Because I don't think we had something like that. Yeah, the reason I don't think we had anything like that here, because what it seemed to be with Top of the Pops is you had these punk bands, avant-garde bands, and they would be spread out into these small little communities and thinking, what's going on there? Here in the States, maybe in the 70s and the early 80s, SNL, with Saturday Night Live, would maybe have people like that. But there wasn't like a mainstream channel that everyone watched. Because even Johnny Carson and those shows, they wouldn't have, the cutting edge people on. So they couldn't. There would be serious trouble for the censors and advertisers. And so all these small communities, they were deprived of a lot of all this music. But I sense that in the UK it was different. At least you can live in a small little town with 300 people, and you see David Bowie all glammed up, or Brian Ferry all glammed up.
I remember that. I remember that when I was little, seeing him on. Because BBC always felt historically they like to bring bands forward and new people coming up, because obviously sometimes we felt like obviously the America's big with everything, and sometimes our little people need to get shown on TV, and that's how I think it really started, with some people getting a bit of airtime, and they still do that on Radio 1 in the morning sometimes in the UK. Bring new bands on that you've never heard of before.
We have
that
a
was
question.
my sense on top of the pop.
We have a question in the chat for you, Gore. It's from Digger Jim again. He's
Okay.
asking, who are your favorite comic artists, DC or Marvel?
No, well, remember, I think DC and Marvel, they fluctuate, right? They go
See?
from one company to the other. The artists, right? They're quite promiscuous when it comes to that. And when Miller worked for DC and Marvel, Neil Adams did the same as well. I don't really have one. I just do not. And let me see. Let me show something here. For example, this is the Treasury edition, right?
Right.
To Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil, the one that basically made Batman a very serious comic, even before. Now the thing is, how can you beat this, right? The Neil Adams effect.
Right.
You see that?
Awesome.
And this Raja Ghul, the introduction of Raja Ghul, and this is one of my favorite comic panels of all time, is this one here. When Bruce is holding Talia. I mean, that right there is, that's Neil Adams, right? And this is just a stunning piece of work here. I know and then you have Bill Sienkiewicz. If you have anything, yeah, you see Electro Assassin up there.
Yep.
I mean, Electro Assassin is my favorite Frank Miller work, period.
Good. Yeah.
And my favorite Bill Sienkiewicz work, period.
Mhm.
It's when that came out, people were put off by it. They still are. It's a very strange work. I think it's one of their best work. So I guess Bill Sienkiewicz, who I guess is a Marvel guy for the most part, is maybe, I guess, my favorite Marvel one. And
Right.
it's certainly one of my favorite of all time. And Electro Assassin is top of the list for me. Well, I guess when we get to it now, let me just briefly go into this, is to the comics of that time when I was reading as a kid, the mainstream ones. Because the thing is, for me, I started to meet the mainstream comics and the independents at the same time. I remember when Legion of Superheroes really took off. I was a big Legion guy.
Yep.
And the reason was because of Keith Giffen. Keith could draw stuff like this. Really chaotic stuff. This was controversial at the time, when I didn't know it was a big issue, because people didn't like this sort of artwork. But then you had him on Legion. And then you had this guy on X-Men. Byrne was good. Don't get me wrong on X-Men on Byrne. But then you had Paul Smith on X-Men. And this is what I wanted with the comics. And
Very nice.
I mean, extraordinary stuff. I always like this cover here, another Paul Smith one. Then Legion went this format. Every once in a while, you have a guest artist, like the great Barry Windsor Smith, who'll be on X-Men.
Excellent. Yep.
You guys know this panel. This is one of the most beautiful panels in a comic page. Look at that. Storm. Again, when I tell my friends, draw me a comic, can you do that? Can you do that? The answer is no, you can't. You can't do that. So the mainstream comics for me was Legion, X-Men, Daredevil, George Bettis, Wolfman on Titans, and such. I like those comics. Stand down. But
Right.
thing is, though, early on, though, I got introduced at the same time to the Independents. There was Mr. X by Dean Motter,
Here we go.
Love and Rockets when this came
Yep.
out.
Yes.
there. Oh my God! And then this. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Mm. Mhm.
Excellent.
This I had to, or I was living in a small town. I had to order these books. I saw this
Mhm.
advertised in a comic magazine. I cut out the coupon, ordered the catalog, and this was just going to be coming out. This introduced me to Brian Boland and Judge Dredd by Eagle Comics.
Yep.
So I got this in the mail, and I began to read Mage. This is Mage here, but I'm going to show something here from Mage.
Love it. You go ahead.
This is Matt Wagner,
Yep.
right? The Great White Wagner. First, you had Mage, and you had these colors. You didn't see colors like this in comics, right? Beautiful colors that Matt Wagner was doing. But it was at the end. Oh my goodness. It was this guy right here. If you can find it here. It was Grendel.
Look at this. Love it. Love it. Yes.
Grendel was
Jeez.
fundamentally different than anything I had read.
Yeah.
In these texts here, he's, I think, a 12, 13-year-old boy. His lover is his fencing instructor, who's
Yep.
twice his age. Okay. He is a brilliant guy. He becomes an author and becomes an assassin. And I'm thinking, is this the hero of the story? No, he's not a hero, but he's the protagonist of the story. He kills, without mercy. And you're thinking, what the heck is this?
Yep.
But I already had a prelude to that. Why? Because I had discovered Warrior magazine a few years earlier. This was the first issue of Warrior. I ordered this thinking this guy was going to be all over this comic. Axel
Right.
Press Button, a very sinister looking cyborg. Is everything okay?
Is everything okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Video games.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's going on.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, it is. It's an video games out in the living room.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Gore.
Well, just to give you the point, this is 82, 83. I order this thinking it's this. What do I get? It's an anthology. I had no idea it was an anthology. So at first, and then it was black and white. I was really annoyed. But then I began to look through it. And what do I see? Some guy named Alan Moore is writing this book. I had no idea who Alan Moore was.
Right.
Some guy named Alan Davis is drawing this. But I see this Greek god type of character killing his adversaries. He's obviously as powerful as Superman, but Superman would never do that. I'm turning the page. He's just this force of nature.
Yep.
What the heck is this? And then it ends to be continued in the next issue, right?
Yep. You know, wait
In
a
the
month.
next issue, right? So I'm pretty annoyed. And then it gets worse. Why? I turn the page and I get to this guy right here. V for Vendetta.
Yep.
I get to V. You see this woman. Let me see. Can you right here? Let's see. There's a cadaver. You see this guy here thinking, what is this? Is that a mask? Is that his face? He's talking to some young woman who's pretty aggravated with him. Then you see this. This man is a police officer smacking his wife around.
Oof.
He doesn't find her sexually desirable anymore. Mind you, I'm a kid reading this stuff.
Right.
Of course.
And then I see this here. This is the one that got me. You see V. He's going to visit a woman, right? And she's got a flower. And it ends like this. See that panel there? He's there to see this woman. I have no idea who this woman is. I have no
Yep.
idea what's going on in the story. But the woman says, Roses, it's you, isn't it? You've come. You come to kill me. He says, yes. And she says, thank God.
Wow.
I turn the page. Oh no, to be continued. This is not Batman.
Right.
So I'm thinking, so I'm reading Legion, I'm reading Titans, and then I read this. And I'm thinking, what the heck is this? So then about a year or two later, people are talking about some Alan Moore guy doing Swamp Thing.
Yep.
And I know that guy. It's this guy.
Nice.
And so this already had changed comics for me in a way that, but I was already reading the independent comics. The other one I was reading was American Flag. This is Trey, Howard Chaykin's book. This one I got grief for from my friends at school because they said it had sex in it and it was perverse and didn't have superheroes. But there was the same group who said Elektra was a slut. And when I asked them, why is she a slut? Well, the way she dresses. I go, that's the way Frank Miller draws her. How does that make her a slut?
Yep.
And I said, well, she's a slut anyway. Thinking, you're out of your minds.
Yep.
And, but stuff like this, this is early 80s. I like American Flag a lot. I have the singles, but I just want to show the trade here. And so anyway, so that was already there with these things. But again, I had already been introduced to Heavy Metal Magazine early on, and Epic Magazine. I was reading Epic at the time.
Yep.
Cool.
My introduction to here's Barry Windsor Smith when he returned to Marvel. John Bolton, my introduction to John Bolton's work. Gary knows these books quite well. I know that.
Very sweet.
The Last Galactus story, John Byrne. Yep. And then the heavy metal magazines I was able to buy before I got in trouble. This happened every couple of years. There's Ranxerox by Liberatore. Eventually, I want to do a video about this.
Yes.
He's made up of Xerox parts.
Yes.
And his girlfriend's like 14 years old. And they live in a world like Blade Runner, hedonistic, dangerous. But if I show you, see Valentina over here, the reason is because of this one, 1981. I bought it with my Warren magazines, my Conan books. I had them hidden inside. It let me buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking around. I see Corbin, first of all. This is Richard Corbin, my introduction to Corbin. See that?
Yep.
But most importantly was my introduction to this man. Oh, okay, let me see that. Chaykin's also in this book. Howard Chaykin was Valentina. And
Here we go.
This changed everything for me. You see this woman. Now I'm a guy. I'm a kid. You're not supposed to be looking at naked girls, right? Made confession really interesting because I confessed every Friday. So I had to confess, right? And I'm not joking, you had to, right?
Yeah.
But I see this woman talking to this astronaut, and now here she is nude, and then there's a child in there. It's her son. I'm thinking, what's going on in this book? You see her crying out of bed. The astronaut's gone, and it's her son, and it's very hot. That's why she's nude. It's extremely hot. I'm thinking, what the heck is this?
Uh-huh.
And it enchanted me to the degree that eventually I had to get more Valentina stories. Valentina was created by Crepax. Crepax based her on his wife and on the silent film actress Louise Brooks. He was an architect by training, but he started doing advertisements in the 50s and 60s. He wanted to do comic strips, but he ended up doing this instead. He had a hero named, Neutron, a man who could stop time. And Valentina was his girlfriend, who was a photographer. But what happened, like with Frank Miller and Elektra, she took over his imagination, and she became the focal point. And with the Valentina stories, they're like this. They're very psychological, they're erotic. Right. And they reference books and films. The New Wave films, Fellini, Bergman, Buñuel, Godard. They're all. I showed you La Note, Michelangelo Antonioni. They're all referenced in there. And finding these magazines was tough over the decades. Some of them were translated into English, but not that many. I managed to get the 17 volumes in Italian many years ago. But then Fantagraphics, how they're doing this, I don't know, has been publishing the complete Kripax Valentina stories. We're going on volume 8. They're huge tomes. I've done a few videos on these.
Yep.
And but he also adapted erotic stories like Story of O, Emmanuel. And but his artwork is absolutely stunning.
Nice.
So again, as a kid, I'm seeing these comics and I'm reading the superhero comics, and for me, they're all part of the same. They're all the same. They come from the same place, right? You see that?
Yep.
And
so there's 8 volumes to that now, right?
8 volumes to that, yes. And another one's coming out in the fall. The most recent one translates, I think, the Story of O, but I have those in trades. I have a lot. I have most of his stuff, not all of it.
Right.
And again, the Valentina books are 17 volumes of this monster. It's in Italian. I can read Spanish.
Just say no, Gore. I have the first one on order.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I ordered it.
Cool. Hope you like it. I hope you do.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
They're wonderful stories. Yeah. So I have her up there. I have her. It's Electra Valentina. Modesty Blaze is a favorite of mine. By Peter O'Donnell. I guess some of you are familiar with her. And there's Maggie from Love and Rockets. Just favorites of mine but when it comes to female characters in comics.
Hello, Roman. Can you hear us? Okay.
Roman, you're muted.
Good day, Roman.
He's muted.
Okay.
Do we have
At least he's not
I ran
sleeping.
McDonald in there quite a bit, but I just wanted to point out how all these
No,
things,
it's excellent.
they all just fleshed in together for me in stories and comics, the mainstream, the non-mainstream, and such, because they're all part of the same medium for me in the sense that they're all stories, a variety, and I like variety. And
Me too.
that's why it's endless. Comics are endless. There's so much. And I haven't even talked about the Phantom, Lee Falk's The Phantom, which is a whole other thing. And great comic strip. And
Do
now
you want to
most
talk
of
about the Phantom? You could talk about the Phantom.
Well, just briefly, Lee Falk's great. He predates even Batman and all those in comic strips created by Lee Falk. And now there's no American publisher. He's published in Australia. He's published, I think, in New Zealand. He's published in Europe. I think in Brazil. A few years ago, I think Moonstone did some Phantom. But like Fantomas, one thing about Fantomas and the Phantom are similar. Fantomas rarely kills. He goes out of his way not to kill his adversaries, which is the same like the Phantom.
Right.
Unless he has to. But it's very rare that he does. But that's one of those ironies. The Phantom is more popular abroad than he is here. That's just the way it is. So.
Hold on here. I got something a little special, something a little new for you guys. You ready? Here we go.
I thought he said nude.
Hey, Gore. What'd you say? What'd you say, Gore?
The nude.
New.
Like
New.
Oh, nude. Okay. I thought you said nude.
Here we go.
Thank you. No, I won't anymore.
Dog or horse? Dog or horse?
Horse.
Dog or horse? Horse.
Horse.
Beer or a good whiskey?
Oh, whiskey, easily.
Snake or a spider?
Spider.
Oh. Car or a plane?
Car.
Favorite sandwich?
Pastrami. I like pastrami.
Okay, here we go. A kiss or a back rub?
Really, Robert? You have to ask this. Remember Casablanca? Remember Casablanca? A kiss is never just a kiss. A kiss.
Okay. Sex or a walk? Don't have to answer. Okay.
You know, there's nothing like discovering a woman's body for the first time.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's something that can be actually quite eternal. It's always a mystery.
Yes.
It really is. It's like discovering a new country. So I think you know my answer.
Yes, I do. Okay, there you go. Art or history?
History.
Poetry.
Art is history.
Parts. Poetry.
That's true. You know, that is true about that. Poetry, a good what?
Good movie.
I don't know. I'm going to go with a good movie. The Cinema Paradiso is poetry and filmmaking. And
This
Wings of
one-
Desire by Wim Wenders.
Nice.
And Time Bandits.
Oh, there you go.
I like Time
Nice.
Bandits. I saw that as a kid too in the theater.
So did
Great
I.
film.
Nice.
Yes, it was. And
Very
number
subversive.
10. Number 10. A comic book or comic books?
Comic books.
There you go.
I'm
Done.
promiscuous that way. I cannot be faithful to any one of them.
There
Remember, I was the
Awesome.
heretic in the group, right? We need more heretics than the comics. Yeah.
you go. And I'll try to change those
Interesting
up. every
questions
week.
you came up with. Sex or a walk? Oh my god.
You answered it beautifully, though. I knew you would.
That was good. Yeah.
Any more questions? Anybody on the panel? Please, you can ask. them.
I've got one. If,
Sure.
Hopefully it doesn't. I
No.
don't know how long you can stay, but who's your favorite philosopher or your favorite quote? I always like asking this one. So.
Yes.
Well, I took a class when I was younger, and we had actually that question came up, and I'm going around answering your question, and it was a huge class. It was an auditorium, and it was a philosophy class. No, it was what was it? What class was it? It wasn't a philosophy class. It's one of these legal classes we had to take, part of a government class. And there was this young girl named Leticia. She was always very prim and proper. She always dressed in little suits, glasses, nice poofy hair. Very prim, very proper. We all liked her. She was just, she's just somebody, you just liked. And one day the professor asked that question, who's your favorite philosopher? People going over here, I like Jean-Paul Sartre. Oh, no, I like Schopenhauer. No, I like Plato. Versus, yes, Socrates. No, I like Nietzsche. Nietzsche was always a favorite, especially among the young, Friedrich Nietzsche. It's interesting, we were government majors, but no one picked Montesquieu or Locke, the ones who were influential in the founding of the country, at least for the founders.
Right.
And then little Letty goes up there, and she goes, I like Hobbes. And Hobbes wrote this book called Leviathan, which is the book about basically saying that law and order and authority basically trump all kinds of civil rights of any kind. And I remember all of us just turned around and go, who said that? And this little Letty in a little suit, little glasses, and her poofy hair. So, I just chuckle whenever I hear that. The writer that I like, I guess, who's a philosopher, I guess, was George Santayana. Santayana taught at Harvard in the early 20th century. His students were interesting. They included Wallace Stevens, a great American poet, Learned Hand, a great circuit court judge from New York, who was always considered for the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court always relied on his opinions. Felix Frankfurter, who was in the Supreme Court. T.S. Eliot, the writer of The Wasteland. He had this long list of great people who became, pretty notable. And Santayana wrote a memoir about his life. He was from Spain, but he grew up. He had English background as well. So he wrote this beautiful set of memoirs about his life called Personal, about his life in Spain and living in North America, his friendships and such. But he also wrote really wonderful books on religion, on aesthetics, on art, on Goethe, German poet, and such. And he died, I think, in the 50s when he was actually living with nuns. When I'm living with nuns, it was a place run in Italy. It was a hospital run by nuns. He had gotten rid of most of his possessions. Now, he knew everybody of the intellectual world, the early 20th century. And a writer went to interview him, and the writer was interviewing him, and he says, "So what's your philosophy?" He goes, "Well, at the bottom of everything, I think chaos. Everything is chaos." And but he was always cheery. And he liked Lucretius, who was a Roman poet and writer who wrote this book about the nature of things. And but that's where he died. And so the George Santayana, no one reads him now. I know that College Station, A&M at Waco here in Texas, has for decades published his books, which always ended up in remainder shelves in bookstores. But I like the way he writes. He's got a really clear way of writing, and very beautiful and sensual in some ways. And I like his views on things. But he read everyone that I mentioned, but he's the one I always gravitate to. Although when I was younger, I went to the Sartre, Nietzsche phases and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
My long-winded answer to the question. But I always think
No, that was excellent.
That was pretty brief, actually.
I don't know whatever happened. Well, Letty did become a lawyer. I did know that. I didn't know she became an attorney. I don't know what kind of attorney.
Sounds right.
Probably a corporate attorney, which is
Thank
fine.
you, Legend. I appreciate
You
it.
need good lawyers in any capacity.
It's true.
I like lawyers. Yeah.
I'll stop there.
You're good. Anybody else? Before we start showing some books or things that we might have gotten this week or next week, I always give everybody their opportunity. Martin? Roman?
I'm all done. I'm cultured out. I am.
I could go on.
Because I'm still learning, so I'm astounded with all the other bits and bobs to learn, all new edges. So
right. Movies.
I'm also a Doctor Who guy. I don't know if you're a Doctor
Yes.
Who. Anybody here's a Doctor Who person?
Yes.
I grew up watching Doctor Who and everything. So, but I'm not much of a fan of it anymore. So
Okay. Tom Baker guy?
I grew up with the I can't remember who the actor was, but there's one where they come up on hovercrafts on TV, and I just remember that actor.
McCoy was the one from the 90s.
McCoy. That was my Doctor Who. That's who I grew up with. So that's
Yeah, I like
who
Tom
I always
Baker.
picture.
Okay. I was just curious.
But my brother loves Doctor Who.
Yeah, I like Doctor Who too. Kyle, what's his name, Robert? His channel?
Kyle
Robert?
Carl Wacker. He loves Doctor
Oh,
Who.
Kyle.
Yes.
Kyle's one of the OGs of YouTube. He was here before I joined it.
Yep.
And great YouTuber, probably the biggest Doctor Who in our circle of YouTubers that I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd as well.
Dread,
Oh, wow.
X-Men.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Judge
X-Men
Dredd.
collection is astounding that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, the community has changed a lot. When I joined back in 2013, 2014,
Yep.
it was mostly discussing comics. I guess
Yep.
I'm from the second generation of comic people. I think because it started in 2000s. One of them who passed away a few years ago, he was a friend with Bueller and with
Sam.
Damien. Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam.
Sam was one of the earliest
Sam
ones.
Tangled. Yeah, Sam Tangled Web. Yes.
Yeah, Sam Tangled Web. He was one of the earliest ones who
Yep.
do just talk comics.
Barely.
And-
Very much missed.
Very kind man. And
Yes.
and I think Dr. Strangelove was another one. was one of the early ones, I think. Tim
Oh, I love
Holland,
Strange Life.
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of them who are no longer around.
Yeah. Comic
And,
Badrone. What was it?
Jabroni.
Jabroni was he
Oh,
on?
Jabroni.
Zabroni, yeah, he came a little bit later, and I remember his
Yep.
passing as well. And you
Yeah.
had the legend not too long ago, Robert.
Yeah, I just
Oh
did
my
Legend
goodness.
last week. Yeah.
Great
I have to say this
Legend.
now. Legend helped my channel a lot. I have to say, whenever I would be in the chat with him or something, he would always promote all the new channels. And I remember I would get all these subscribers before these people came from, and they were coming basically in part from Robert, the Great Legend.
Yeah.
Right.
Great Legend
And,
was also one of the first like people that went live ever, like for
Yep.
Yeah.
comics
Big
for the
time.
community. Like as a solo
That's true.
live person.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that I saw Gore for the first time in one of Great Legends chats. So
Hmm. Probably did, just like I
Might
did.
have been. Yeah, he probably did.
I met that way.
Mine was Gary's.
I don't think he knew who the heck I was yet, but I definitely remember that. So
Him and I would have these real big conversations back and forth. It's like, man, I gotta meet this guy.
yeah,
We are going to meet one day in real life, Gore. That's guaranteed.
That'd be good.
Jamaica has a good place.
I'm going to take him out for dinner. Definitely going out for dinner.
No, the comic
So-
community has definitely changed, and I think it's harder now. I think for people who discuss comics the way we do to jump in because I know the speculator channels, the collector channels have come in,
Sure.
and I think they gravitate. We type in comics; they're the ones that come into your feed, and if you're not
Right.
into that, you'll be thinking, "Oh, that's all they're talking about." But if you really have to be persistent and search out those channels, which are they're
Right.
still out
You
there.
really had to dig.
You really
Big
have
time.
to dig. They really do.
Yep.
I remember the word key, for example.
Oh.
I mean, it's only a few years ago that the word key actually, you go, key for what? Key to the house? No, a key. What's a key? A
Yep.
first appearance. Appearance of what? You know, first appearance of somebody's cousin. I'm thinking, what? Makes no sense.
Like
And
our
I
like our
said-
big like
You
the
see,
thing with-
and you know, and then when they explain it to me, I'm thinking, oh, when I think of the word key, then I think first Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that one.
Mhm.
First Hulk. Yeah, that one. First X-Men. Yeah, that one. First Frog Door. Yeah, that one too. No. And when the Frog Tour thing was a couple of years ago because of the Loki
Yes.
show.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
People
yes.
were paying $40-$50 for it at my shop.
Yes.
I'm thinking, "Have you out your mind?"
Beta
But
Ray
Key
Bill
used
and all
to
the
be-
other ones.
You know, yeah, no, it's true. Key used to be when I remember. Well, when we never heard the word key.
Right.
I remember when a new artist would jump on a book.
Yep.
And you wouldn't see the word key. You would see, Chaykin's now doing the shadow.
Yep.
Oh wow, Mike Kaluta has a new comic.
Mhm.
John Byrne is now on Superman. And those books would go up a few dollars in value. Or a storyline. Frank Miller and Claremont doing that Wolverine miniseries
Right.
that changed everything
Yep.
because it was at the same time that Paul Smith and Claremont were doing X-Men, and they changed Wolverine. Up until this point, he was just a guy who had cigars, said Bob, had berserker modes. There was no substance to him. I don't know. I was indifferent to him, and so were many people that I knew. But then, the miniseries, the Paul Smith stuff, he's engaged to this woman. He's trying to keep check of his rage. You see this humanity to him. Then he became engaging. So at that time, that's a key. That storyline is a key. Or this artwork is a key. Or this writer
right.
jumping in.
Right.
But the first appearance thing was, we never heard those words at all, right? And they didn't happen. Oh, when Frank Miller did Ronin. Without Ronin, you wouldn't get this guy.
There you go.
You wouldn't get the Wordles. I call it the Wordles. You wouldn't get these guys, right? You wouldn't get the Turtle book, which I liked at the time when they came out. But the only reason I liked these is, again, because I had read Ronin and Daredevil, and these were basically, we thought were like a spoof one, right? and but now they're worth insane amount of money. The first one,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
big time.
and but yeah, so this whole thing of the key thing, I just shrug my, I hear it so many times now forever. I like to joke with friends of mine. What was the first time Doctor Strange kissed Clea? I mean, what? That should be a key. The first kiss.
Yeah.
What was the first time Mary Jane and Peter Parker went to bed? That should be a key. One of the first
Yeah.
time Robin and Starfire went to bed in Titans, because that was controversial. That should be a key. I mean,
Watch Gore mention all these books, all these.
Watch
Yeah,
Gore
yeah.
go in the air.
Yeah, and all the, and then
That's
in a
a
week or so, we'll see these
guarantee.
books go up, and we're like, what the
They'll be
hell?
on all the auctions, won't they,
We'll
next
start
week?
seeing them now.
Yeah.
Watch, or I'll guarantee you'll start watching. You'll see.
Yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
them all in auctions. We'll see like a price hike, and then you'll be like, huh?
Yeah,
First
why is
twist.
this one so expensive? Oh,
the only one that comes up is that dumb Batman book from a few years for the shortest penis.
yeah.
And suddenly people are paying hundreds of dollars for that, thinking, what? So
Hey.
I'm not entirely off on this one. So
I capitalized on that book. Don't
Damien,
knock it.
what's up, buddy?
yeah.
Yeah, Damien,
We
It
all
wasn't a
did.
dumb
Damien
book.
is
It was the speculation over it is. My question is, so why
Right.
can't you show their penises? Why can't you show their breast? Are you out of your mind? It's a mainstream comic. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, not to mention it was their dark or whatever label
yeah, it
too.
was a
So
black
it's like,
label.
what's
Yeah.
the big deal?
Yep.
What? Like I joked around with Robert and everybody on here. I go, one of the moms picked up the book and didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing something
Yeah.
about that.
Opened it and then saw it. It wasn't even after they mentioned it. I even since I got the book, I didn't even notice it until somebody mentioned it. I'm like,
Right?
huh?
That's why the Saga issue 1 from the India Comic Con is so rare, because they gave it away with the kids in their bags, and then the parents got
Oh,
it home
boy.
and looked in Saga
Oh.
and like, oh my god, and they all went in the bin.
Whoops. Oh my god.
That's why if you find one of them, that's a comic to keep. The India Comic Con one.
I didn't know that. I mean, that is from Saga.
Oh my-
Mm-mm. No, but it's changed a lot, and I think it's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Variety of discussions is fine, but it's just people want to get in and discuss comics. Like I want to discuss Cerebus, because I did discuss Cerebus. Cerebus is one of my favorite comics. That's one of the reasons I joined YouTube, to discuss Cerebus and Valentina, the European stuff. But now you really have to search them out to find those stuff,
Right.
those
Yeah.
channels. And but that's just the nature of things. I think if you like the medium like we do, we'll always be around. And it's
Right.
just a question of, do you want to stay around? And
Right.
if you get
Right.
discouraged by you don't have the likes, you don't have the subscribers, that's one thing.
That's not what we're.
I'm not going to mention any names on this channel, but
Yep.
I am sometimes concerned about fellow YouTubers who start the channels with unreasonable expectations.
Hmm.
And a few years ago, I was watching one particular, and this man or woman looked a little bit depressed on their channel.
Right.
They seemed depressed because they weren't getting the likes, they weren't getting this and that on their channel. And I was a little bit worried about their mental state. And the thing is, if you get into this for that reason, it's like likes on your phone.
Right.
How come people are sharing my post? How come
Mhm.
aren't people liking my post? If you obsess over those things, it begins to affect you psychologically. And if you have other issues going on in your life which are dissatisfying, this may be the final thing that sets you over the edge.
Right.
You know?
That's why I have to say, if you're in it for views or likes, you got the wrong channel if you're into comics, because if you look at any of the other channels, there'll be thousands, millions of views. Do the comics because you love them, because you love the stories, not because you want the attention from people.
Yeah.
Excellent, Mark.
That's the best thing I can say. Read them for what they're worth.
No, well said. I've met some interesting people here, people that know me personally online, people I never thought I would communicate in private over comics online. They get to know me, and And at the end, that's what really matters. I mean, yes, obviously, I would like people to view things and see things and like things, but it's not a priority in any way. And if you get into this for that reason, have a tough skin, or don't get into this at all, or
Right.
change how you see things, because it may add to your. If you're not depressed, it may lead you to depression. And it shouldn't. It should be fun, you know. And you can't compete with the Joneses all the time. And
Nope.
sometimes the Joneses aren't very nice people,
Yeah.
you know. Just not.
Does anybody have any books they want to show? Jeff, did you have
Yeah, I want to
something
see
you
what
want-
book you guys have.
Yeah, I got plenty
Oh,
to show.
interesting books.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some art. Well, you guys couldn't see the artwork from last week since yeah. So this is the artwork I picked up last week for $50.
Who did that?
The one of the
Nice.
artists from Batman Beyond. It's a Batman Beyond artist. I forgot the artist's name, but yeah, we went to the Comics Den house sale, and then got this for $50. Yeah, I thought it was only one. I like the Catwoman more than I like the Batgirl on it.
Okay.
So I was just gonna get the Catwoman, but he threw it in. So that was nice.
That's very
And-
nice. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, pick that up. Pick this one up, of course.
Never a show without Vampy.
Yeah.
We know that.
No.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Jeff. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite
Yes.
artist or rapper?
Favorite artist is
Is
favorite
it
old
going to be
school.
Gonzalez? Is it going to be Jose Gonzalez or one of the Gonzalezes?
Yeah, the older artist is Gonzalez all the way, because Gonzalez defined her look and defined everything. Like even
Agree.
that little tattoo on her on that little bat. The whole story behind that bat was they put that bat on her to see if James Warren would notice that bat, to see if the publishers would notice that bat,
Didn't know.
and they just let it run. So he
Oh,
never
wow.
noticed that bat. Yeah. So that little bat was, because I have Gonzalez's and Ingrid Torres's art books, and I read them both, but cover to cover, and then like how Jose got discovered and how Gonzalez got discovered. You know what I mean? So those two are my favorite. You know what I mean? Old school artists. New school, of course, is gonna be like Perillo, Just Go. All those guys are, you know, good too. But there's a lot of up and coming ones that are pretty decent too, of vampy artists. So there's a couple of them that are pretty. Like there's one, what was it, in I think Spain, that I ordered like a whole set of his covers, and it's like realism cartoonish realism type stuff, and
Yes.
there's a bunch of artists. I mean, I want to do a lot more stuff with Vampy on the channel. It's just don't know if Dynamite's gonna hit me with, you know, what copyrights type stuff. So if I do,
You know, I don't think so. I mean, you might not. I mean, 'cause I show a lot of books on my channels, and
right,
I've never been hit with a copyright strike. I mean, I show a lot of fanographic stuff all the time,
right,
and so I don't think it should be an issue. And I know you like those artists a lot. And the thing is about
Right.
Warren Magazine was so darn good at getting the Filipino and Spanish artists to come on board.
What? Yeah, the biggest thing was how Gonzalez ended up on the book, and how all these guys ended up on the book was because of what their manager from over here. James Warren was leaving the office. The guy ran late. The guy actually came in late, and actually went to like steak dinner with James Warren, and opened up the portfolio. He goes, I want this guy, and this guy.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've
So it
heard
was-
that before.
yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty
That
cool.
was Gonzalez.
Gonzalez
Yeah, it was
did-
Gonzalez. It was St. Julian, and it was Ingrid Torres. It was all
Esteban
three.
Maroto did a few, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot of like, but the funniest thing is 3 Spanish artists defined her look. It wasn't like, it wasn't Frazetta. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't any of the guys over here. It was three Spanish artists that actually defined her look.
No, that's my. I know those early Vampirella ones because I have most of the
Mhm.
Dynamite books, and
Yeah, Dynamite.
it's-
Dynamite didn't get a hold of her until 2010, and then it was Harris that ended up with her at like the end of like what was it? End of 70 something, because
Yes.
112 was the last issue, and then the Harris came out with 113. That's why it was so Harris had slowed because of Warren going after they were going after each other because of how they released the first issue of 113, saying it's a continuation when it was all reruns, all repeats in that book. It was maybe 2 new stories,
Yes.
but the one I would love to do is actually go to Spain and actually try to find Jose Gonzalez's lost Vampy story. There is one story that he sent off. James Warren declined it, or it was supposed to be like 114 for 114, never got published, got sent back, got left with his management company. They lost, so it's lost in files. So nobody knows where it's at except the boss of that publishing company. So I would love to find it just to see what the story was.
Okay. I think one of the artists. Did you read? Remember the book when Carmen came out?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Art.
did. I picked up the whole run. Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I mean, he would make a great.
Right.
Let me show some of these panels. People are not familiar with this. One that won't get Robert in trouble. Let me see.
No, you're
Well,
fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
The
And
book
it
had
talks about it's pretty much about suicide type stuff too. So yeah.
a girl
Yep.
takes her life,
Yeah.
and then Carmen and this Carmen figure appears to try to like, what did you just do? And Guillermo March would be an
Right.
ideal, I think, artist for Vampirella. And what this book did, it took this is insanely beautiful artwork. But
Right.
it took the Little Nemo idea, the famous McKay book, The Little Nemo,
Right.
the little here, right? And
Right.
it's amazing this was published in newspapers. It astounds
Right.
me.
Yep.
In the early 20th century. And so when that book came out, Carmen, I'm thinking, oh, he's borrowing from Little Nemo, at least among others, right?
Right.
But yeah, March would be an ideal Vampirella artist. I don't know if he's ever interested in doing it, but yeah.
Right. But like the Caprice run is pretty decent. But the only problem with the Caprice run is if you didn't start off reading his stuff in the beginning, you're getting like if you read this Vampirella 666 or whatever 6670 this whole other run, you're gonna be you're gonna be lost, because if you haven't started off with Caprice's beginning, like Robbie and all them were saying on Pop Culture Philosophers, you're gonna be lost. You're gonna be like, what the hell's going on? But if you had like right now, I would say start with the Caprice Volume 1 of Vampy, and you guys should be decent, because he actually goes into some of the history of Vampy sometimes.
Nice. Anybody else? I'm going to show my little run then really quick here. Here we go. And a big shout out to some community members as well. Madhouse Comics, Geeky Dad, Sans Cookie Shop, and Maddie Freeze. I got a little surprise here I got to show you guys.
Ooh.
So this one is
got it, didn't you?
This one's from, what's that, bud?
You got oh yeah, I can't wait to see Maddie's one.
Wait, you'll see. Geeky Dad, and this one was signed by Ron Lim. Now, Ron Lim, he actually was the penciler for this. So he didn't do the artwork on here because I did look it up, but this is a great issue 3, Fantastic, our Silver Surfer.
Yes.
And his signature is like right there on.
It looks like a tattoo on Thanos.
Yeah, on Thanos. The same thing. This was from William Hunt on Geeky's Dad channel. This one here is Cloak and Dagger, Marvel Fanfare.
Oh, that's nice.
Really, really nice.
Rick
then-
Leonardi made do that.
Yes. And then over on Sands, I was able to pick these up. So here's some classic Michael Jackson for you. The Dazzler, Chiller.
I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
seen that cover before.
No, nobody has. Nobody sees it very often. Pick that
That's
one up.
awesome.
That's JoJo's gonna get that now for sure.
Got a Dracula, number 47.
Look like Fright Night.
Yeah, it does. I'm always picking this up. First Lilith. I'm fascinated with this character. I always grab it.
Ooh.
I like
This is
that.
the first appearance. And Dracula again, king size number 2. This is from Sans Spot. Pick that up. And then over on the this was Madhouse. J1 Bob on there. I got it's awesome. 1956. I'm a huge fan of Mysterious in Space comics. And I picked this one up. This is issue 34 from 1956. Beautiful, beautiful Mystery in Space.
Mystery in Space.
Love this. Just love this. Fantastic. Now to Matty Freeze, my buddy out there, and a community artist as well. I picked up some books from him also. This one came out in 1987 by Ocean Comics and Legend. If you're watching, you're going to love this. Popeye's origin story.
That's nice of Popeye. Yeah, Legend loves Popeye.
Yep, nice fun one. And then another favorite character of mine in the Deadpool series, also in X-Force. She was also called Mrs. Lucky or Miss Lucky in the movie. And that is, who do you think? Who was Lucky? Do you remember, guys?
Yeah.
Domino.
Domino.
So I got her second appearance here.
Unsubscribed. I'm not a Deadpool guy.
Yeah, I like Domino, though. I like
I
Domino.
hate the feet on the. I hate the feet on Liefeld stuff. So yeah.
But I like Domino.
There's a joke at my shop. They always making fun of me because I'm like the only one who does not like Deadpool. Man.
Well, my wife, my queen, she loves Deadpool. But I like the characters that are off from it, and Domino was one of them. And they actually had a run, I think it was six issues. And I was able to pick this up for Maddie. Really, really
Yeah,
nice.
Domino's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, Domino's.
Yeah, I love Domino.
I have no comment on Deadpool because Rob Liefeld will probably cancel the stream.
Yeah.
Poor Liefeld.
Number 4. Love these. These are actually a really good story. It was a good run. Very, very nice. Number 2. And then we got a one shot from her. This was David Baldwin variant, 1 out of 25, I think, a variant cover.
So. Ooh.
Hmm.
Then, of course, from that same run, number 1. Love that cover. Beautiful.
I think I have that one. That's
Yep.
very nice.
And then I got the second appearance of Brother Budo from 1973. Beautiful copy. Love this.
Steve just picked up the first appearance.
I know he did. We were talking about it. It's excellent. Another Silver Surfer one shot from 1982. You know me, Jeff. I'm always picking them up.
Yeah, I was on that show when you picked that one up.
Now, I have no idea who this is. All I know it's going to be a little risque, but this is called Gritty Gorgeous number 1. It's a virgin and it's called Huge Life.
Yeah,
I just like the cover. This was a total cover buy.
go.
Because a redhead.
Could
know,
you put
red.
that closer to the camera? I can't see. There you go. Nice.
Okay.
How can she
And
walk?
then here's the hotness. So, community artist, Matty Freeze, he left a little note on here and he said, G-Man, thank you so much. Honestly, it means so much that you love and support my art. Thank you so much. I have like 2 other pieces for Matty Freeze. They're glued to my wall in the other room.
Yeah, but
And they were
I
both-
remember sending you this post. I go, you have to get this one.
and it was coming home. I don't care, but it came home. Here we go.
yeah.
He did this.
Yeah, I saw it. I go,
Wow.
first thing I did, I sent it to Robert. I go, you have to get this one.
Fantastic.
Wow.
He did Silver Surfer. Excellent. Beautifully done.
Look at the colors in the back.
Yeah, the colors are just
and the inks glow too. So that's
Yeah, the
even
inks all
better.
glow.
Oh, wow.
That's very nice.
It's absolutely gorgeous. just want to say thank you so much, Maddie. It means a lot.
Damn.
Big time.
Yeah. You should thank me too, so you didn't miss it.
Oh, I did.
I'm just messing.
Right away. Slap me a really quick. You got to see this. Maddie Freeze did that. I went, what? Oh
Yeah.
no! I just waited for him to show that. So yeah,
Yeah. I go, you can't miss this one.
Came home with me.
Yeah,
You know, it
thanks for
looks
the
a little
heads.
bit like this one, Robert. It looks like Mobius.
Oh, is that
wow.
black? Hold on.
Remember, this is
Mhm.
Mobius when he did Terrible.
That's Mobius. Yes.
Wow.
Love it.
Those
This
eyes
is
just
when
stand
he,
out, man.
Love
Yeah,
it.
stunning. Yeah, this is when he drew the Surfer books.
Yes. Love that.
That two-issue
So
series,
good.
Parable, with
So
Silver
good.
Surfer. With let's find another cool panel here. There he is.
Yes. You know.
Yeah,
he is-
Mobius again, another guy discovered in heavy metal when I was getting those
Yes.
magazines. Yeah, but this cover, I have several different editions of this. I really like it.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. I've never seen that one you're holding. That cover.
Yeah, this is an unusual one. I don't know where I
Yeah,
got
I've
this.
never seen that.
It's from Epic though. Yeah, it's from the
It's
Epic.
beautiful.
Comics. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now he's gonna be looking all over for it.
It will be. He'll be coming home. Roman, do you have some books or anything you want to show, buddy? Jojo, do you want to show anything?
I haven't been getting like floppies lately, but
Okay.
I am reading Hush right now.
Ooh,
All the way
sweet.
through.
Very
I
good
was collecting
series.
it. Yeah, I was collecting it before, but all that stuff's in my storage. So
Right.
yeah, I don't have it with me right now. That's why I'm just reading this. But yeah, it's so far so good. I like it.
Excellent, isn't it? It's very good.
Yeah. And then this was another cool little thing that I found at one of my comic shops out here. See if I could grab it without ruining it. There we go. Something a little different.
What is this?
This is a little promo poster for some of the Nightmare on
Oh,
Elm
yeah.
Street comics from
Nice.
back in the day.
Nice. I have a few of
Excellent.
those actually. That's excellent.
Right? Isn't that
like
awesome? So I'm
Yes.
gonna frame it and put it up, but yeah, I thought that
Very
was
cool.
cool. And it wasn't that expensive. It was pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah. Nice little find.
Very, very
But that's about it.
okay. Roman, did you have some books? Roman, I can't hear you. I can hear you. I can see you, Bob.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Welcome, Roman.
Apologizing to the panel and the
All
chat
good,
and
Roman.
everyone. We over here doing spring cleaning.
Yes.
We'll just sit here and watch the show and stay out the way now.
No, you're good. You're
That's
good,
what I'm
Roman.
doing. I was just watching the show and enjoying the show. We've been watching it from the beginning.
Excellent.
So,
Go ahead, buddy.
what do I have? I have all kind of stuff to show.
Yeah, you went to the con last week. We got a nice little treat, you guys, on our last week's show.
All kind
And the
of
last two shows, Roman actually cracked open some slabs to make sure that they were saying what they were. And then he went to a con and he did actually some on footage of the con. Oh,
Oh,
serious?
Whoa.
oh wow.
And
So
there's a guy
cool.
with some pictures there,
That's
some old
nice,
pictures there.
Roman.
There's a guy with some old pictures there signed to other people, but I didn't care.
Nice.
That's nice too.
Very nice, Roman.
What a wonderful
All right,
signature.
The next two are for the host. So I was thinking of the host of the show when I picked these up. So I think it's Rico Browning actually signed this.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's going to the host of the
That's
show.
cool.
That's going to Mr. Galvin, y'all.
Oh,
Yeah.
love it.
That's cool.
And just to show y'all how sick and
Fire.
disgusting the host of the show is, I had to get this. Sick and disgusting. As soon as I saw it, I thought about the host of the show, y'all.
Nice. Nice. Very
Oh my
nice.
god.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, love it.
Wow.
Wow.
I got a couple books signed at this con.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Keith Pollard's first work at Marvel. So I had him sign that
You pick it
Ooh.
up.
from Detroit. Mr. Keith Pollard from Detroit. I had him sign that. And then this was a rush book. I think 10 guys had to work on this book, as Mr. Arvell Jones was telling me. And I had him and Keith Pollard, because back then they didn't have fax machines, copy machines, nothing that.
Wow.
They both had to drive from Detroit to New York to finish the book. There's like 10 guys to work on this book, so they had to have it out that weekend.
Right.
So I had to, I had both of them sign that book. They
Look
worked
at the
on this book.
signatures. I like it. Very nice.
I don't ask for too many signatures.
Did you have a good time at that con?
Oh, wonderful time.
Yeah, good.
Wonderful
Good.
time.
Good.
Wonderful time. I'm
Excellent.
trying to figure out what I got.
Really appreciate you having the guy show us the wall of books, all the pre-code horror. That was
The week
excellent.
before, I got this as a 3-piece deal. So I got this.
I had one now.
You know, my favorite villain of all time.
Oh,
Bullseye.
Troubled
I
Soul.
should have asked the question about he brought up Elektra, but I should have asked the question about how intense Frank Miller made Bullseye. And I got this.
Ooh.
I got those three together from a guy.
Wow.
I got I got these three together from somebody.
Oh my goodness. Yes. There she is. I love it.
I am just getting the books in the collection that you're supposed to have. So first Werewolf by Night.
There you go.
Love
Beautiful.
it.
And replacing books that I sold.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
There we go.
I had a bunch of X-Men, but I ended up putting them up. I got me a nice Phantom Stranger.
Nice.
Phantom Stranger #1 is a very high grade. And this came along with it. The guy threw this in too for me. Second
Wow.
appearance of the Royal Flush gang. That's my favorite villain gang.
Very nice.
But
Cool.
I'm gonna do a little Phantom Stranger thing there. I got wow. I seen this and I wanted this book. This is all I really wanted.
Okay.
You know, you only this little cheap book here.
Right.
DC's version of Hercules. And the man saw me into getting into this.
Oh yeah, I love
Oh,
it.
look at that.
The man, look, that's about the best Linefield cover I ever seen. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
one of
Yeah,
the-
That's
there's
one
no
of
feet
them.
on it. There's no feet on there. That's why.
There's like 3, and that's one
This
of them.
is like one of the birthday issues for Miles.
Right.
So I got that. That's Oh, I picked this up from somebody else.
Very nice.
What else did we pick up?
Roman, did you get any Deathstroke for Uncle Carlito or no?
Nah. The book I was thinking of when this book here. This book here, if you get it in high grade, it's very, very expensive.
What?
Ooh.
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
So that's really
JoJo's gonna hit you up for that.
I'm like salivating right now.
Yep.
Need.
right. I tried to catch the Mark Jeweler, and it's not gonna go for that much. The Mark Jeweler in this condition went for almost $400.
Wow.
Wow.
So this was I caught this on a deal, but the high grade one cost you about $400. So
Wow.
there
That's
you go.
awesome.
There you go. I was gonna use that for trade baiting. Robert Galvin got a book I want.
Sure. You got it.
I got
Well,
the
you can
man
send it
thing.
my way, and we could give it to a Frazetta.
Wow.
Gotta have the man thing. Yes,
It's
sir.
like a-
Yeah, I got the
Epic
man thing
haul.
#1, but of course, mine is the Mark Jeweler. I found it in the Mark Jeweler.
Sheesh.
This book I always tell people. I finally grabbed me one.
Yes.
These
Very
this is the first edition. This first transition of Magic the Gathering in the comic book. So
Comic books form. Yep.
yeah, so I always tell
Exactly.
people to grab one of these.
Yes.
You never know. I just bought this at the counter. They saw the guy saw when I bought this,
Very nice. Yes.
and I got this the other day. Finally got me a Scooby Doo #1.
Love it.
Sweet.
I wanted Scooby Doo #1 because it's the first appearance of Blue Falcon and Dynamite.
Got it.
That's why I wanted it the most.
Very
Blue Falcon and Dynamite.
Nice.
And I have watched my stuff. I had to get her.
Oh yes, look at
Uh,
that,
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
I don't even know who the artists are. As soon as I saw them, I just give me.
Storm cover is gorgeous.
I do not even know who the artist is.
That
I
Who I
looks like
saw them, I just
Sienkiewicz.
Is it cabbage?
Mhm.
It looks
that
like
who it is?
Sienkiewicz.
Looks like it.
yeah, a little bit.
Homage to Justice League 137, Superman and Shazam,
Nice.
Very
Supreme
nice.
and Omni Man.
Wow.
I got this from my man, Mr. Price. It's a sign.
There we go. I like that.
It's a sign.
Titans.
COA.
Very nice.
Finally got one for the PC. It's not coming out no more. I had this the third one I've had. I'm a villain guy, but I'm not big on this villain. But I'm gonna keep this one in the
But
PC.
he has it though.
So, it's
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go, the famous 300.
I just sold.
and I got all kind of other stuff. We're going to hold the show up forever. Yeah, some of them smaller.
No, he doesn't.
I'm gonna get this done again. One guy had a bunch of them, so the Tron variants.
Interesting.
I had the whole set.
I don't think I've ever seen those.
It's like 8 or 9 of them.
Okay.
Could be another one in here. Oh, there's Moon Knight.
Okay.
It's like 8 or 9 of them. And since Vampirella was mentioned in the show, Battle of the Planets has to be mentioned in the show.
Yes.
But nothing. If we gonna mention Vampirella, we gonna mention
Yeah, we gotta mention
There
that.
you
Giant Gobles in this show. I'm not gonna show no Battle of the Planets. But what I will do, somebody wanted to trade a 9-6 Battle of the Planets. And me and the guy, he wanted my 9-6 Battle of the Planets. And I felt bad. And me and him was both trying to not job each other. Hey, this is what it's worth. I don't want to do you wrong. He trying not to do me wrong. And he fought with me. So all I wanted was this, and I was gonna give him some money.
Yeah.
I got me
Yeah.
another Ultimate
Nice.
Fallout,
Oh,
still in the original poly bag.
very nice.
Nice.
And he just felt like, I was doing him wrong. I said, it's only like $300 book. I got to give you some money. He said, no, take this. The
Wow.
Ultimatum. That was like $1,000 book a few years ago.
Very nice.
So I traded these 2 books, got traded for a 9-6. And man, and you'll still be waiting, Big Remo. I got Battle of the Planets for days. You'll still be waiting. And that's what I wanted to show from the last couple of weeks. The highlights.
Very nice.
I got a ton of X-Men. I bought about 30 something X-Men. But they're put up now, and I'm so proud of my little X-Men box now from 94 up to 143. That was my X-Men read time. Paramount and Burns and all that stuff. So I'm proud of that box there. It's really stocked.
Very cool.
It's
Very
some
cool.
triples and doubles in there. So, Amy, I gave you a bullseye. My favorite villain. What do you want, Remo?
Okay. Martin,
That
no,
would be my question. That would be my question. Since
Go
the
ahead.
humanity was brought up so much with Elektra and everything, how about when Frank Miller put so much intensity in Bullseye and taking his intensity and rage into taking Daredevil down or just killing him? What's your thoughts on that? That would be my question.
And then for me, yeah. When he did that, that was a big deal at the time.
Bullseye killing Elektra. I always thought he would go. That's my thing. Don't kill the person you're trying to. He wouldn't kill the one he was in love with.
Yeah.
Bullseye did that. That was his plan. Let me kill Elektra. That'll get to him.
Yes. No, I think again when I think about those stories, they do read a little bit like Greek tragedies, and of course she's named after a Greek mythological character, Electra. I think that's intentional by Miller,
right.
and her death is basically like that. And I think I agree with you that is killing her, and the glee that he gets in doing so. I mean, he was already a psychopath before Miller took over him. I mean, included him in his storyline.
Right.
But he did something, especially when you see those images of Bullseye doing his exercises, like on the gymnastic poles.
Yeah.
He had a strong physicality to him. And the way he would draw him, like when he would be in prison, and he takes a little paper clip in his mouth and he just uses it to kill a guard.
Right.
Again, there's a criticism about Miller. I've heard people say in the past that he's a terrible artist. Well, not terrible, but they don't say he's very good. I think what they mean that he doesn't draw like Neil Adams. He doesn't draw realistic sort of figures, right? He doesn't draw like Byrne. But I'm thinking, no, I think it's what he does. Yeah, he can't draw like them, but that's not the point. Is he's got a certain feel for the characters, the way he draws them, and a certain intensity to them that in a way that Byrne could probably never do. And certainly by including Bullseye and making him and Kingpin, like I mentioned earlier, into a sinister mastermind, Kingpin, and then this psychopath in this character. But the way he would draw sometimes his face, he wouldn't be all smiling. He would have this stern look on him, and you knew he was dangerous. He didn't have to make it hyperbolic. And this was something new. And certainly, yes, the way he kills her, the glee of how he does it, and just watches her crawl away. And then when Daredevil wants his revenge, and he lets him go,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's there in the bed, and there's that wonderful scene when they have the gun. Remember that? And it's should I kill you or not kill you? I mean, this was wonderful. Early 80s.
Yep.
And remember, kids were reading this book. Yes, you had adults, but children were still reading comics and reading this and going, wow, and it wasn't, they weren't talking down to us. And even though, adults were reading the comics as well. And it's something which has been difficult to recapture. I know Brubaker and Bendis did a pretty good job in the 2000s with it. But without that, you wouldn't have, going now, 40 plus years? Without that foundation, you wouldn't have anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, because she was already dead to me because he had took the card and sliced her throat. And then to take her side and to stab her with the side. I was a kid, like, man, she already dead. I was a kid then. She already dead.
Roman, you gotta say spoilers, man. It's the old story, but somebody hasn't read it yet.
I don't know. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
if you read the Comics Journal magazines at the time were very critical of that. I remember I have some of those issues because the point of that was they said it was something sexual.
Yeah.
By doing this, he was raping her with this. And maybe
killing her with her own weapon.
Right. You're right. She's already dead. He slit her throat, but then he does this.
Yeah.
It's something you would see during acts of war, right? When soldiers invade a town and what they do to the women. That didn't enter my mind at the time, but that was one of the criticisms of it. But it's one of the ironies about that is you have Teen Titans, Legion, X-Men, people punching themselves out, Fantastic Four, all these explosions, beating.
Right.
The way Miller drew this suddenly says, no, this is violence. How is that different than the Thing pummeling Dr. Doom?
Right.
Yeah, but that looks cartoony. This looks real. And that's why it's bothersome, because 9-year-olds are reading this book.
Right.
You're thinking, wait, no, they're all violent.
Right.
Is this one done in a certain way that's disturbing? So yeah, that's why that book was transformative for the medium. I think Frank Miller's run.
And Monty, I know you have some stuff you want to show. You came back, I see. You must have took care of.
Yeah, y'all are still going, and I come back, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Well, y'all talk so much about Daredevil. I figured we can't show Daredevil without showing this.
Wait.
Daredevil 1.
Yeah.
Is it not showing up?
Yeah, it's a little blurry.
A little blurry. Yes.
Bring it up a little
Clear on
closer.
my end.
It's blurry on our
What?
end.
Send
Yeah.
it to me and I'll see a bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah.
That ain't better.
No. Put the comic in front of the camera to see if it clears up. And pull it back.
There you
There
go.
you go.
There you go.
Hmm.
It's where he's sitting.
Yep.
Because it's dark, not there's no light facing the comic, so it's not lighting you up or the comic.
Okay. Then I only picked up one new book this week. I have a complete run of the original, but the Savage Sword of Conan #1 is on the stands.
Oh yeah, the new
That
That was
one, yeah.
good. I picked that one up too.
Yeah.
That was well done.
Yeah.
So, and
Everybody says it's the read of the week. So
these aren't stuff I picked up. These were misfiled stuff that I'm moving all my comics out here. So that was Amazing Adventures #1 within Humans of Black Widow. Is it still blurry or?
You have the glare, maybe. A little bit of the
A
glare.
little bit of the glare. And you just froze, buddy.
Dang it.
Yeah, he did.
Buddy. Internet issues. He'll come right back. We'll give him a minute.
I got one thing, a comic.
Oh, sure.
For the first time in a couple years.
Yeah, first time.
It's a collected edition. It's nothing special. I don't need a Brinks truck to bring it in or nothing like Monty, but
Excellent.
Thanos wins, Donny
Oh,
Cates,
yeah,
and I'm gonna read that. And I want to show a couple sweet panels. If I
that damn the first
The green
there
screen.
we go. There you go.
Green screen is interfering.
Yeah, it's okay. then you got the whole Jeffrey Comic-Con, like that one. I believe that's Silver Surfer. I'm not 100%.
Yeah,
Probably.
the Silver
Yeah.
Surfer Black
But
or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I can't wait to read this. Because, of course, I'm a huge Thanos fan.
So,
I don't know what happened.
we're going to try this again. You ready?
Okay.
There you go. Go ahead.
All right. Well, then we got the Mighty Thor starring in Marvel Spectacular #4, The Living Planet. Is it showing up?
Yeah, it's showing up.
Then this was misfiled, The Eternals #1.
Hmm.
Then
Nice, Jack Kirby.
Giant Size Spider-Man Doc Savage #. Gumming, I tell you what. There he goes.
There you go.
Then Spider-Man #77.
Nice.
Very nice.
And these, I can't remember where these read. Tales Astonished #80
Wow.
with my little Submariner playing in the background.
Yep.
Number 96. I love that cover with the skulls.
Yeah.
Then we got Tales Astonished #81. Then we got Miss Marvel #2. Found it hiding out somewhere.
Wow.
That was hiding out in my Hulk box. So was this, and she must have went to the Hulk. Then Avengers #89.
There you go. Some Avengers love.
Avengers '91. And then I don't know if I showed this last time I was on, but this is Arthur Adams. It's X-Men, all new X-Men #10. It's up there. Arthur Adams.
Arthur Adams. Yep.
And we got Avengers #83. And we got Thor 184.
So these are just recataloging?
These are the ones I found that were mixed up in other boxes. At one time, stuff up and just
Okay.
got to a point where I just didn't care. 164. And now I'm trying to get them in the right boxes. And 141. That's just some of the stuff I got on the table here.
Nice, Monty.
Monty, if you find a Hulk 180 that's misplaced, you can send it to me and I'll check it out.
Yeah, I got one, but it's not misplaced. It's actually CGC too, which
Is it really?
Oh boy.
I don't know
Wow.
why I did it, but I did. But
And it's one
Mark
short
Mann.
box full of the same one.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Does anyone know here?
In quality order.
No,
Say
does
it again,
anyone
Glenn?
know about? I had a question regarding the Hugh Jackman. At my shop, my friend, he sent off to CGC about a year ago. It's going to be
Uh-huh.
a year now. It's for the Hugh Jackman signature. He sent off Hulk 181. CGC had
Oh,
said they
boy.
were going to have a signing for Hugh Jackman. And been communicating with him back and forth, and it still hasn't happened. Do you anybody here know what's going on there?
Well,
Have you heard about
They
this?
might have lost
Hugh
his-
Jackman?
that's a touchy subject, but
they might have lost his book and don't want to replace it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I hope he insured it
Yeah.
because that's the when I decide to do my Silver Surfer, my one, I'm going to have it
Yes.
like way over insured for any of the
yeah,
any of the issues.
that married couple and all this other stuff going on
There's a lot
too.
of that happening lately, Gore, and it's kind of
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, but I wonder. But you guys haven't heard anything from CGC regarding the Hugh. But you guys remember hearing about that, right? The Hugh Jackman was going
There's
to.
loads
Yeah, it
of
was a
questions
while ago.
online. There's loads of questions online about. I'm just looking about people asking the same question
Yeah.
as what you are.
I never even heard Hugh Jackman was doing signatures.
If
I
it's
saw
been
that
over-
announcement, but
If it's been over a year, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, if he hadn't signed in over a year, it needs to be sent back.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to
That-
do.
that-
Yeah.
I hope he took
That's what it
pictures
needs to
before he sent
happen.
it in.
Yeah.
Is it gonna happen? That's the
Because
problem.
If he didn't take
That's not
pictures, he
good, because-
he may end up with a different book if he didn't get pictures of it.
Well, the thing is, I know some
I
of you
know
guys.
Hugh Jackman address. That's the only other thing. Getting his autograph.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't heard anything back, then it's not good. Then.
yeah.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
There's this post from the 12th of February, and it says about someone trying to get their books back for other signings and being unable to get the books back yet.
Okay. It's not good.
So it looks like an awkward situation, but that's probably CGC with a capital letters, isn't it, at the minute?
Yeah, this all came from CGC. That's the reason he did it. I was there when the announcement came out, and he was excited about it. He owns
Right.
a comic shop, and he was
Sure.
going to send out one. He's got several copies, but he's going to send out one of his copies to have it signed by him and to have it ready for this year's movie, right? So that you can sell it or just keep it. He was going to keep this one. He was going to keep this one.
Right.
But like you said, if you guys haven't heard anything, and you guys, some of you guys are, keep up with this, it's a really bad sign, and CGC could be in serious legal trouble
Yeah.
because it came from them. They came from them to have this signature, and
Yep.
it didn't happen. So they have some serious. They're already in hot water. You
Yeah.
guys already know.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
they're already
The other
on the
one-
frying pan.
Yeah,
This is
this is the
layer.
tip of the iceberg for what's going to come out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
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 That's been my paranoia for a long time, is sending books in that are like
Mhm.
more
Mine too.
valuable.
Yep.
Yeah. So I like to keep them raw.
Me too.
That's
I don't
why
even
my-
like.
That's
for
why
me,
my
it-
big books haven't been sent in. The big
Or
ones.
just
I
buy them
got.
slabbed already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Or that.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. No, I'm probably going to see them after the street. I'm going to go see them at the shop. It's a couple.
Right.
They own the shop on the street, and I'm going to see. Well, I'll just tell what you guys said and see what he's going to do. So,
Damien's in the house.
It's tough.
Yeah.
hey,
You can read it in
Damien.
there.
Damien.
There he is.
I got to meet him in person. That was really cool.
I know, I'm so
MegaCon.
jealous.
That was. Yeah.
One of
Oh
the
man, I was supposed to come down for that too, Jeff. I was so sad when I couldn't. make it.
Uh huh. You can make it next year, right? Next year, so that it's
Next
the
year
4th
might
to 9th.
actually work better. That might work better.
Come on, everybody, come on, come on, come on.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Oh,
I have that.
This for
That's nice.
Damien. He's probably the
Nice.
biggest Spirit fan that I know. So
who's the
Yeah,
artist
so-
on that?
by huge influence on Frank Miller. Frank Miller. This is Eisner.
That's
Will
pretty stunning.
Eisner. And yeah, Miller acknowledged, I stole a lot of stuff from him when I drew Daredevil. He did, but
Yeah.
they remained good friends to the end.
Speaking
I
of our
like it.
Doctor Who fan, Kyle's in the house.
Damien's a huge.
Yep.
There he
Oh, hey
is,
Kyle, how are you? It's good to
Here's
see you.
Kyle.
Kyle.
Tom Baker forever, right?
Yeah. Will Eisner, the watercolors, I think. Yep.
Yeah, that was stunning. I like it.
Do any more questions for Gore today before we let him go? We've been on for 3 hours now, guys. Can you believe it?
You've indulged me a
It went
lot.
by-
I apologize for my long responses, but I tend to be
No.
Thank
We
you
could
for
sit here
that.
and listen to you for another
No
3
apologies
hours.
needed.
Are you kidding me?
I'm grateful to all of you here.
Wanted
were
to
you
show
gonna
this one, Rob.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. One of my favorite pieces that I own now. That the signed Gonzalez hardcover.
Oh, you got something
Nice.
signed by him. Wow.
Well, this was a mail away, and I found it at a
Yeah.
show, and actually got it. So it's but my
Wonderful.
my goal is to actually own a piece of Gonzalez's one of his panel arts. That's one of my
Who
goals.
has that? Who has that, Jeff? Who owns most of that? Is that scattered all over the world, or somebody have most of
Yeah,
it?
it's scattered all over. Like I see it on Heritage go for like sometimes it goes for dirt cheap. Sometimes it goes like I saw one of his pieces went for like 300. Some of them go for
Yeah.
3,000. Depending on who's depending if Vampy's on the panel or not. So if Vampirella's on it, it's going to be more expensive. But if she's not on it, but it's from the magazine run, it's pretty decent price sometimes. So that's one of my goals is to actually own one of Gonzalez's pieces.
Would you rather have Vamp on it or no?
I mean, if I could have Vampy on, it would be nice.
Money's no option. What would be your choice? Obviously,
Money's
it'd be
no option.
Vampy.
Of course, I would want Vampy all over the all over the panels.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up, and let's go with my first. So whatever you got coming up and whatever is going on, please tell the community. Here's your moment. Monty.
I think I
I'm gonna be taking a little hiatus, so
Okay.
you'll see me when you see me.
Okie doke. Uncle Roman. Uncle Roman.
Yes.
But he's not asleep.
What you got coming up? What you got going on? Please tell the community. This is your moment.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Too much money.
He's broke now.
And I got books. Y'all seen how many books I really bought over the last month during
Yeah.
my birthday month? I'm not buying no books until April.
Next week.
I will buy my own subscription. I went to get my subscription yesterday. Our usual Wednesday books. They said, I said, what I got in the box? They said, one book, Miles Morales. I said, charge it to my account, leave it in the box. I ain't even taking it home.
Well,
That's it.
okay.
I didn't. That's about it. I just want to, since he was showing off Vampirella.
Of course.
But other than that, yeah, it's a con in April I want to go to. They got a new con here in Detroit. We'll be in Dearborn. I'm going to that at the end of April. It'll be a wild time in April, and it's just my offset of the Vampirella. We got the offset. All right.
Cool. There you go. There's the Battle of Planets.
Y'all have a wonderful week.
Jeff?
Well, I got a couple things I'm working on, but I really want to do one about talking about if a Vampy movie does come, who do we want to play? Certain characters. So that's coming. Yeah. Well, I may have Gore come on. Then I'll talk to Gore and everybody else. But I would want, you know what I mean, to actually all the characters and stuff. But I got
Monica
a couple other
Monica
things I'm wor-
Bellucci. Monica Bellucci. That's my choice.
I got a couple. Yeah, I got a couple other things I'm working on, but some. I'm gonna try to get a couple of cosplayers on, a couple of collectors of Vampy on that are bigger collectors than I am. So
What?
Cool. What?
yeah,
They exist?
yeah.
Holy cow.
There's one in Canada that has the Mexican editions, that have the Japanese editions of the Warren. So
Jeez.
yeah, so there is somebody bigger than me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Martin.
I've got a comic box waiting. I've found some bargains, a special wraparound that I've been looking for. Now that I've got my Strange Academy ratio that I was looking for, I've been looking for some of my other bits. So I'll talk about that when they come. Hopefully, I don't know whether they're going to be next week. I've got to be realistic because I've got it to come from the USA, and I've heard that the comic I bought 3 or 4 days ago could be next Friday that it gets delivered. So
Oh wow.
it's long-winded sometimes. So we'll see what I've got. I don't have any of these big, massive grails to show, but I've got other things better.
Nice.
You got a family to show. That's better than a Grail.
No. That's at Sir Isaac Newton's house, and that's the famous
Wow.
apple tree. Thanks.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And the
awesome.
kids were dropping apples and everything. I just got to find the video. I couldn't find it.
Nice.
You know when I
Very
come out,
cool,
I'm
Martin.
sitting
That
here like
was-
I was the other night.
So I have some special things in other ways that I can't. I don't have
Yeah.
the comic supplies across here because it's not as popular. But I've got the history,
There you go.
so I can
Love
battle you
history.
back that way.
There you go. And to my brother Carlito, it was wonderful having you. Please come back.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I enjoyed your company so much here today.
I was just thankful to be here, to be honest.
Hey, weren't you just like awestruck?
Oh, man.
It's fantastic, wasn't it?
Jeez.
So please come back.
Yeah. I got to plug
Yes.
Dan and John's Comics with Kids. They're going to do a show talking movies tonight. I'm sure it's going to be like 9 Central maybe, or 8 Central.
Oh,
Yeah,
I might show up on that. I'm not sure yet, but
Dan invited me, so
yeah. So I
think some
might
Blade Runner
might
theme,
come
I
by.
think.
Might come by for that. That's really all I got going on, and I'm kind of like Monty. I'm going to be a little incognito here and there.
Okay.
So
Carlito.
incognito.
Jojo,
Hey.
I really want to thank you very much for being here today. It was wonderful having you. Please come back anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need to have
it was a
Jojo
blast.
on more.
Yeah, JoJo needs to be on more for sure.
Yeah, finally
Sure.
getting to talk to all of you is so cool because I know we've all talked in the chats for like years, literally. So yeah. For my channel, I'm gonna be going live tomorrow at 6 Pacific. So
Sweet.
I'll probably just do, I don't know, like a Flicks and Comics live, just kind of because I've been gone for like 2 weeks on a business trip, so I haven't put out anything as of late. So I kind of just wanted to like fill in all my people on what's going on and stuff. So yeah, it'll be fun just to hang out.
Have you seen Dune 2 yet, JoJo?
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I've been gone. I've been in Arizona for 2 weeks, so I just got back and
I can't wait till you do. I want
So
to
I'm
hear
gonna-
what you
yeah.
I'm gonna
I have
put
to
you on the
watch
spot
it.
again, Jojo. Before I let before I let Gore Vidal go, do you have anything you want to ask him right now while we got him live?
Yes, come on.
Okay, we have to do some kind of deal where you watch Fright Night and I'll watch a movie that you make me watch.
There you
How
go.
about that?
There we
Okay.
go.
That might work. Actually. Yeah, that might work.
We'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
There we go.
Do that.
And
That'll work.
Gore Vidal, it was wonderful having you today. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. And friends for life. That's all I got to say. How about you?
Worst, thank you, Robert, for having me. And
You're very
I mean,
welcome.
I mean, everything was wonderful here. Jojo and Carlito and everyone else for being here. And I have to say, with Jojo, she's been supportive of my channel for a long time. And also just one of the few women on YouTube. I mean, we have Caroline and a few others. We used to be more when I started
Yes.
on YouTube. And but but I'm grateful for all of you for staying around. I mean, and indulging me here. I really enjoyed this. And
Excellent.
regarding my channels, I'm a mood. I make videos like I read. It's a mood thing, and I don't know which I'll make a video for the comics. The last thing I did was the Born Again Gallery edition, which I showed. People did know about it, to go and get it if they like it. And my book channel, I'm not sure what I'm going to make there. But again, it's just discussing books that I like. And that's probably what I'll do. There is a tag going around. 2 different people tagged me. I normally don't do book tags or comic tags, but it has to do books has to do with before you die.
Mhm.
I mean, books that you want to read before you die, what you read, what's going to happen to your library. I think it's called the Memento Mori one. And I've been thinking about doing that one, so that I might consider that. And if I do, it'll be on Libera Paradiso channel. And the Libero Paradiso is, it's a reference to the movie Cinema Paradiso, but here it's about books. So, yeah. But otherwise, that'll be it. And otherwise, read your comics, enjoy your comics and, stories,
I
Where
love
we-
it. I love
Oh
it.
my God, we got to send him some gloves.
So,
You don't care.
Anyway.
That's my man.
remember
Yeah,
Richard
that's what I
Gere had
love.
this rolled up. Remember Richard Gere had this rolled
Yes.
up.
Oh my God.
Yes, I was just gonna say one of my favorite
Right.
movies. That scene in the comic book store, and he's
Monty just having a, hey, somebody call 911. Monty's falling out.
Having a seizure.
Oh my goodness,
It'll be all right, Monty. It'll be all
Monty, where's your EpiPen, Monty? Come on.
right. Deep breaths, Monty. Deep breaths.
But that whole scene with the kid saying, "Well, what's so great about the legend or the Silver Surfer?" I love that. That was
Oh yeah, that was good.
excellent. Okay, stick around, guys. Don't go anywhere right away when I leave here. All right. So
Thank you,
what are
everyone.
What are you showing?
As well. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this.
Absolutely. What is this?
Okay. Do you want to do that? I can do
Peace
that
offering.
too.
Peace offering. I'm gonna get somebody to draw Thunder the Barbarian on this. That's why I bought one.
Nice.
Peace offering.
They don't like that. They don't like that run anyway. So yeah, that's cool.
Okay. And to you, community, please check out the links down below. It's all Gore, and we also have John Comics with Kids down there. Please go check that out. It's wonderful stuff. You don't know what you're missing, so please go check it out. All you guys on the panel today were fantastic, as always. Gore, I just want to say thank you again. I'm going to say it again and again. This was a wonderful show. I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys did too. And with that said, what else? Make sure you come check us out next week. We'll have another guest on as well. And yeah. What are you doing, Martin? I'm distracted by you.
Another hat.
Oh, jeez.
I love it. So
Man with hat.
say bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Adios, everyone.
Thank you to the chat.
Thank you so much.